Okay, so we're live. So we'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we live and work in Mi'kmaq as the steward of the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Approval of the agenda and order of business. Now, introduce staff, got that done. We have an award for Chad. We're going to do that right off the bat. And then we have some meeting changes.
Yep.
And now, I know that Tom has a few things he wants to put on.
General items, yes, thank you, Warden.
Sharon?
And I have one Tom.
Okay,
I actually have a committee report, so I'll be specific, I have a committee report.
okay, at least now I know what you're doing.
Social Public Library, thank you.
That is mine as a committee report,
Oh, yours committee?
yes.
Somebody want to approve it as amended?
Someone?
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Public input session, and just before I start, each person is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes, with the entire public input session not exceeding 15 minutes. Each person must state their name and address. Questions or comments are to be directed by the chair, which is always the case, and comments are open to any municipal matter. So do we have anyone who wishes to speak to council? Oh, well, we went through all that for nothing. Okay, there isn't anybody. I thought that we had that guy coming in.
At 9:15.
Oh, he's got an appointment. Oh, yeah, that's right, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Pam said there's one other that hasn't come in yet.
One
Who
other.
was going to come in without an appointment, but they haven't come in yet.
Well, they're not here, they're not here. Yeah,
Yeah, he hasn't
hasn't shown up yet. Well, we have somebody who we think is coming in to speak at the public, or at this. Are we going to allow him to speak? I just need to know, because he's not here yet for some reason. Okay,
No, it's somebody else.
no, this guy
Somebody
doesn't,
who didn't make
he
an
doesn't have an appointment, he just told us he was coming in to speak.
Well, I think if he's here by 9, that's right, if he's
Yeah.
here by 9, then the public.
I don't know what he looks like, to anybody? Mr. Lohman?
Aloni.
Aloni? Mr. Yes, yes, good, you're here on, just in time, yeah. Yeah, and I just went through this, so
Late as usual.
yeah, so you only have 5 minutes, I'm sorry, but that's just the way the public input session works.
Okay, so because I have only 5 minutes, of course, there's too much to cover here.
Yep,
There's a lot more to say. I will try to prioritize things on matter of what's most urgent.
You'll have to state your name and address as well.
My
Yeah.
name is Philon Aloni. I live in 58 New Arbor Road, Blandford.
yep.
First, as an interlude, I want to point out, if any of you have your cell phone with you, please Google 2010 United Nations General Assembly declaring that access to water, not only potable water, but also for washing and other application, is a fundamental human rights. So now let's go on from here. What's most urgent, because there's so many people in this district that are out of water. Last night I was talking to people collecting water at Graves Island, and one person said, "Look, most people, as far as he knows, most people drive wells." You know, like he says, hundreds and hundreds of them that he knows, you know. So I wonder, first of all, if you have the statistics, if you have a graph, time-adjusted graph of the different numbers of households that are out of water over the summer. If you didn't do it, then I think you should have done it, and you better start doing it now. So you'll be well informed. I'm talking now. I have only 5 minutes, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so please don't interrupt.
Okay,
You talk when I'm done. Now, unless you want to give me extra time. So, yeah. Also, I read reports about what's done about community well, and there's no timelines at all. No dates are mentioned in the report. The public is entitled to have dates so they can scrutinize what's going on. Now, Graves Island, which is a provincial authority, is still possible now as an urgent measure to communicate with the province and suggest that in cooperation with the municipality, there will be digging done immediately and plumbing done immediately so it can be winter-proof, and hire one person, if it is a matter of liability, to be in charge and making sure it's all safe. This is a very serious matter, and any way of allowing so many people, so many households to be without water is abrogation of responsibility. Now, how much time do I have left?
About 3 minutes.
Okay. So, as far as the Grave Island thing, I know it's possible. I know it's possible from both ends, from the civic government and provincial government, to come to an arrangement and start doing it, and shovels should be on the ground tomorrow. That can be done. It's just a matter of priority. Now, because it's a human rights, it makes me wonder if some of us believe that yes, it's human rights, but we are entitled to decide who is more human than other. How much time do I have left?
You're running out.
Pardon?
You're running out.
Okay, so I want to ask you to have your hand up if you decided to be a member of council because you believe in your responsibility as a human being to address the human needs of all people, not just the ones who will be better means. So please, if this is the reason why you're a member of council, please hold your hands up.
Yes, to help
Yeah.
everyone.
Pardon?
To help everyone.
You believe everyone is so. So why not raise your hand? Because I like to see it.
Well, we do what is within our jurisdiction to do.
Yeah.
There are some things that are not.
Yeah, of course, the jurisdiction. Okay, quickly about that. Since the environment has been changing at an accelerating rate, reality has been changing at an accelerating rate, it's time to change the laws to keep up with time. These laws that make it strictly civic responsibility is outdated. Laws have to be made for practical reasons, not for some kind of museum pieces. So now, my time is out, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to the public that does not have an appointment? No. Okay, so we're on to the minutes of the previous meeting, council, October the 9th. Errors or omissions?
I'll move we approve the minutes. Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. Proclamations and designations, I'm not familiar with any.
Not today.
Okay. Committee reports, Recreation and Parks, Councillor Church. That's the one you already,
No.
no? Oh, you have another one? Yeah, okay,
Another one.
yeah.
Okay, met on October 20th. We elected the chair for the meeting, Kevin Mazark. Elected a vice chair, Brad Armstrong. And also, there's a list of recommendations of grants.
Yeah,
So I don't know if we want to do it all separately or together.
I'm comfortable together, yeah.
Okay, just a little bit of explanation. All of the grants, they were able to provide them with the amount they asked for, except for the garden clubs. We stuck to previous commitment of $700 for all of the garden clubs, which was something that was decided before. And also, there were 2 late submissions, and unfortunately, we did not approve those because they were late, and they were,
You'd already spent the money. Hmm?
well, they were late.
Yeah, they were late.
And there are other avenues for them to ask for funds, so
Yeah,
anyway, hearing that, I would move that we approve the motions 225-463 through to, and the grants as well, through to 25465.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. You have another committee report, so you
I
might as well
do.
give it to him now.
Okay, thank you. Just a brief report on the Lunenburg County Anti-Racism, Anti-Discrimination Committee. We met and a chair was chosen, happened to be the counselor, Allison Smith, and it was a good meeting. They decided next meeting they will have a budget, and they're going to break up the pillars and discuss them. So they'll probably have a budget that will come back to
Okay.
council for approval.
Okay.
That's it.
Anyone, any questions about that? No? Tina, you had a committee report as well?
So, in terms of Social Public Library, we continue to work through I'm going to highlight the bookmobile, but I'm just going to indicate that we continue to work through regular work of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. The staff are doing phenomenal work with this. We continue to work through a review of our entire, no pun intended, library of policies. So each month we take a look at a review of that, which I think we're doing here, but we have a staff that's dedicated to the bylaws and policies and that review. So we do that as well at the library. So again, you know, typical normal business, but I just wanted to make sure that I continue to bring back that committee level of involvement. So in terms of the bookmobile, you might have noticed on social media, unfortunately, the bookmobile has been out of commission, back on the road, out of commission, but we've heard back on what the concern and the challenge is, and it's part of the exhaust system. The good news is it's all under warranty, but bad news is it's on critical back order in terms of receiving that part. So what the staff have been doing over the last couple of weeks have been reaching out to the communities where there's an established regular stop. So I, for example, can speak of New Ross because they would have reached out to me, and then I was in touch with what would be marrying up of a natural inside pop-up location that would be a good fit. So the Ross Farm Museum, which is closed now, winter hours, Mondays and Tuesdays, but on Tuesday morning, the bookmobile is typically in that community, but we are using the front entry of the Ross Farm. So I went down on Tuesday, it was their first time there, and they have a cargo van rented that they are moving around, and they take, again, large containers of a selection of books, and they move that into that location. They also, why I went down is because I, of course, had some holds on some books, so I went down to pick up my books and so on. So they have not been able to do that in all of the locations in all of Lunenburg, Queens. So again, the staff and the board are trying their best to do what they can do in terms of accommodating people's holds especially. And it's really a very much hands-on personal experience. If you've ever had an experience in terms of putting, ordering books and having them delivered to you and so on, that's all I can tell you is a bit of an apology in the fact that we cannot cover the entirety of
They're doing
Lunenburg,
their
Queens
best,
for this, but they're trying their best in terms of, and it really takes us back to the time of COVID and where people were doing direct deliveries, so we're doing a bit of that as well. I will probably chat with Jen about maybe sharing the library post, just to maybe get it out there a bit more too on our website. So I just want to say that. That was a bit lengthy, I didn't need to say all that, but you know what I'm like. Okay.
Yep. We've met you before.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions, anybody? No? Oh, yeah. Sharon?
Yeah, thank you. It's good to hear, Tina, because I know the participants at Bonnie Lee were very disappointed. They were looking for the bookmobile, and I didn't realize that, so now we can inform them.
Explain them to
And that's just wonderful, because they very much look forward to it coming there.
And I, in particular, I did mention to the staff when we chatted about, well, some areas, and I said about the stop on the Windsor Road, right? And so maybe what I can do as part of my job is just to reach back out to Christina at the office and say, is there any way we can, yeah,
Do
yeah,
that,
yeah,
fit that
yeah,
one in.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'll try, and I'll let you know directly.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So our next one is an appointment that's not ready, so I'm gonna deal with the Chad. You wanna come up, Chad? Okay, so, 2025 Recreation Nova Scotia Awards, October 22nd, Professional Achievement Awardees received, honoring the current or former recreation professional for their exceptional commitment and achievements, showcasing excellence through mentorship, leadership, and support for the next generation of recreation professionals, Chad Hahn. Of course, over his career with the Municipality of District of Chester, starting in 2000, a while ago, as recreation coordinator and rising to director, Chad has created a professional culture rooted in respect, empowerment, and collaboration. Chad's ability to balance strategic vision with grounded mentorship has ensured that the next generation inherits not just programs, but a philosophy of service and leadership, and has profoundly shaped recreation in Nova Scotia. His influence is seen not just as a program and in programs and trails, but in the professionals he's inspired and the communities he's helped to thrive. Chad has laid a strong foundation for the future recreation professionals through both his innovative practices and his unwavering commitment to community and development. And congratulations, Chad. I assume I give this to him?
I think it's gonna go back in our office.
Oh, it's going back up
He
in the
got
wall.
He got the award at the Recreation Nova Scotia conference last.
Oh, yeah, that's where he was when I was trying to find him.
That's where I was, yeah, that's where I was, so.
Well deserved, Chad.
Yeah, well deserved. You've done a lot.
Thank you very much, and I guess I did have the opportunity to say a few words when I received the awards at the conference, and I think I'll just reiterate to council that early on in my career, and I was told that, you know, one of the things you should do as a good manager, a good leader, is to surround yourself with good people. And I think I'm very fortunate to do that in my department. So although I'm very honored and humbled to receive that award, but it really helps when you have a strong team around you. And I'm fortunate.
You mean council,
fortunate to
don't
have
you?
that. Council,
yeah,
yes,
that's what I thought.
and staff. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Congratulations. You deserve it.
Yes.
Okay. So now where am I? Is that guy here?
Yeah, Mr. Moore is here, and Mr. Alders, and Mr. Keddy's here, so I think we're good if they're ready to start.
Are you guys ready? Well, let's do it then. Mr. Keddy, I don't see Mr. Keddy. Oh yeah, there he is.
Middle. There's a piece of this that if you want more information on, there's a potential conflict of interest. We can go to legal advice
Later, right now.
later if you need to.
Yeah, okay. So what's our choice? We're deciding whether this person- Oh, your mic's on, I guess.
Yep.
Whenever you're
Both
ready.
at once, there we go.
Oh, you got two of them now.
It's extra loud.
Well, thank you for having us back here. It's been a few years since I've last sat in this chair.
Oh, well.
I see some familiar faces, some new faces. So today, we've been given the opportunity, we appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak on this private ways matter. We understand a prior motion has been made to appoint a commissioner, and the request for decision today before council is to seek to confirm the commissioner as recommended by staff with several alternative options available as well. I trust everyone has had the opportunity to have or review the letter I provided back in September in anticipation of the prior meeting. And so the request for decision for today, what we're seeking is that council consider the alternative option number 2 that's been recommended, or that's been in the request for decision. And that's the decision that we would recommend. The reasons that we're seeking that the council take this option, which is to rescind the prior motion and not proceed with the petition, are the following. So first, we understand council decision to appoint a commissioner. We want to put it in the correct framing, that the decision to appoint a commissioner in this context is placing a burden on a private citizen, Mr. Alders and his mother, who own property, to now have to engage in a legal process, which is going to ultimately cost Mr. Alders and his mother legal costs, time, stress. And this is a process that was not of his fault. It was not asked of by him, and so it's being imposed by him, and it's being imposed by him by a decision of council based on the acceptance of a petition from another citizen looking for a right-of-way. And so the starting point, the way that we would like to frame is that I think we can all empathize that a private citizen should be able to continue living peacefully within their property without having to have these undue legal processes imposed on them at no fault of their own. The second reason for reconsidering the matter is that the factual basis, I think, needs to be understood in the context of making and appointing that commissioner, that when we're speaking of the properties here that are seeking this right-of-way under the Private Ways Act, the first property being identified as PID number 6012231. This was acquired by Mr. Keddy's forestry company with what we would suggest full knowledge of the fact that no right-of-way existed to portions of that pit. There's some complications as to how that pit is a consolidation of several other parcels, but we don't need to get into the technical part of it. What we would be submitting is that there was knowledge at that time, prior to the engagement and purchase of that property, that Mr. Alders and his mother were not in a position or not willing to provide any right-of-way if that purchase went forward and Mr. Keddy's company acquired the right-of-way. That's a key factual consideration. The second one is that property identified as 601223132 was not acquired till much further along after all the issues had already cropped up, and there was full knowledge at that point that there was disputes as to the unwillingness of Mr. Alders to further burden his property with rights of way for forestry companies. And again, we're talking about a right of way over essentially Cottage Lake Road that cottage owners, including Mr. Alders himself, uses, that would then be occupied by further forestry trucks and other vehicles in that industry who would then have access over that road in order to further their forestry operations. Thirdly, the question that I want to put to council or to consider is the precedent that it may set in appointing a commissioner based on the petition and these particular facts. And I would submit that as council, we should be wary of eagerly appointing a commissioner for landowners who's seeking a petition over land they recently acquired. And in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about property rights, the land was acquired in the 2020s. I believe 2021 may have been when the land was first purchased. This isn't a particularly long time for a dispute over land and rights. And so I would urge council to consider the precedent of seeking a commissioner to review these matters so quickly after land is acquired, rather than letting other alternative traditional mechanisms try and figure out how to get access, if there is access, to these properties play out, whether it's through negotiations or through court processes. Setting the bar, that a person can knowingly purchase a land that doesn't benefit from a right-of-way to simply then seek a petition and impose that legal process over an unsuspecting landowner at no fault of that landowner would be a precedent that I'd be concerned about. For example, in this matter, it should be a minimum that the petitioner, I would suggest, comes to council explaining how they're out of options. To this day, the petitioner has not sought through court either a right-of-way of necessity over my client's property or any other property that they may be entitled to a right-of-way of necessity over through an appropriate court action, or a right-of-way through lost modern grant, or simply trying to enforce a right-of-way they may already legally have title to over other properties. And so part of this kind of plays into what the history of this proceeding, in that a petition was brought forward a couple years ago to municipal council. Ultimately, that petition didn't go anywhere. The petition then was made to the province, and a process was followed. A petitioner appointed, a hearing was had, a hearing similar to what you would have in a utility and review board hearing. Evidence was heard before a commissioner appointed, and that commissioner ultimately made a report which is not available to the public. And that report, one can surmise, led the provincial government to ultimately change Part 1 and make an amendment to Part 1 that significantly overhauled Part 1 to force landowners who seek these type of petitions to go to the court to make the application, where they can have a judge trained to deal with these type of disputes, to properly vet and understand the concerns and make that ultimate determination. That's the process that appears to have come out of the provincial petition. Again, we don't know the contents of the report, but we do know the ultimate outcome and results following that report. Unfortunately, the province left Part 2 intact as it previously was. And so we're still under that same Part 2 portion of the act that allows a petitioner to petition council to then appoint a commissioner, and the council be that adjudicator essentially of whether or not land rights should be imposed on other private citizens. Lastly, on why we're seeking for a reconsideration of that prior motion, and perhaps this plays more into if it is not reconsidered and a commissioner is appointed, that council consider in who they appoint, whether that person has the requisite skills and knowledge of the law, property law, the ability to give opinions to council on property law and legal matters, and more importantly, the ability to understand legal processes such as utility and review board hearings, and how those processes can be conducted in a fair manner so that the people who are affected all have notice, have the ability to be heard, have the ability to have their evidence properly scrutinized and taken by the commissioner. And so if council does proceed, it seems imperative that a commissioner appointed should have the requisite knowledge and skills to ensure that there's procedural fairness in whatever process comes out of this. And so if it is not reconsidered and moves forward, there are two specific reassurances that my client would also like council to consider when moving forward with this petition. First, my client would like that notice and those affected landowners are properly treated and considered in this petition. Landowners, for example, under Part 2 is defined differently than it was in Part 1, and so Part 1 petition was a bit different. Part 2 defines landowners as those folks who own the land outright, such as Mr. Alderson, his mother, but also defines it as those who have rights of way, easements over the portion of land that's going to be affected. And that seems to be the case here, where the cottage owners could be affected. They have a right of way over the Hunts Lake Road. And just from a practical perspective, forestry traffic on their cottage road would then have a practical impact on those folks as well. But the law does provide that they are defined as landowners. So we'd be seeking reassurances that everyone who would be impacted would actually be part of this process. The second reassurance that we'd be seeking is around costs. Ultimately, again, at no fault of my client, he is forced to defend his land rights in this matter, where he does not wish to have a right-of-way that could be imposed in perpetuity, in other words, forever be imposed as a burden on his land. He doesn't want to have to bear the cost of having to defend what he shouldn't have to defend because he wishes to live peacefully without these legal processes. And so the issue around cost becomes a big one. If the cost to defend this becomes more or greater than the value that an arbitrator would determine the right-of-way to be worth, my client would essentially end up with land burdened by a right-of-way and would be out of pocket beyond what he's being compensated for because of the cost to participate in this legal process. So regarding the parties, Part 2, as I said, defines landowners as including those who have easements. And so, again, this means the cottage lake owners we'd wish to have notice and be able to participate. And again, regarding my client's costs, the only other petition that was robust enough to be noteworthy and have reports available on is what you may be or may have heard of as the Sutherland petition that came out of Halifax about 15 years ago. This involved a municipal petition where the dispute went back about 5 decades of court actions, and ultimately, as a last resort, the municipal petition was made and a right-of-way was given. In that petition, the commissioner confirmed that costs for the landowners affected to participate in that legal process were to be paid by the petitioner. This is in line, I would suggest, with Section 29 of the Act under Part 2, which requires my client to be compensated. And so therefore, what we're asking, if it's not reconsidered in its entirety and that it does move forward, that the motion would include language to the effect that all reasonable legal costs and disbursements incurred during the Private Ways Act process by the affected landowners, which includes Ashley and Ruth Alders, be compensated. Reasonable legal costs and disbursements are to be determined by a taxing master of small claims court if a dispute of the landowner's legal costs and disbursements arise. This is important as far as the agreement that council then makes with the petitioner, and to be quite frank, a way to protect council from being on the hook for costs that they're legally required to pay under the Act by ensuring that council's agreement with the petitioner properly covers all the costs that would be required. So for example, this agreement entered with Mr. Keddy's company could explicitly state that the legal costs of my client to participate in this process, the reasonable legal costs, would be covered, and that they would have to pay those costs to municipal council, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the costs and money paid to the affected landowners comes from the municipal council, comes from the municipality. It doesn't come from Mr. Keddy. It's up to the municipal council to ensure that they recover those funds in the appropriate manner in order to pay those costs along to my clients. But at the end of the day, the Act is very clear that the compensation would come from the municipality, and so it's imperative on the municipality to ensure any agreement they have with Mr. Keddy's company as the petitioner covers the expenses for not only the value of any right-of-way if one was deemed appropriate, but also all the legal costs incurred by those affected landowners, which includes my client. I'm willing to take questions, of course, but that was essentially the points that I wanted to make here today, along with everything else that has been reiterated in my September letter, but those were the pertinent points that I wanted to make sure I covered today.
Well, thank you. You've brought up some interesting points for us to discuss, and my questions are primarily for my own solicitor after this is done, before I do anything. Yeah, there are a lot of points that you brought up that we're gonna need to have some further discussion before we come to a conclusion today. Yeah. Do you have any? Oh, Sam has one. There you go.
Hi, thank you. Yes, very interesting comments, something to consider. You mentioned some criteria that you're suggesting the council should consider, or should have considered before they do it. There's no basis for that in the act, and I'm just concerned that council make a decision based on criteria that's not there, and then wouldn't survive a challenge if they said, well, we're not going to do it for this reason or that reason, like as you suggest that perhaps they already knew there was a right-of-way or something like, it wasn't a right-of-way.
So just to clarify your question, is the criteria we're speaking of as to the qualifications of the commissioner being appointed?
No, whether they actually proceed with it. In other words, you know.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that's done, they passed a motion that they're going to proceed with on the petition, which involves appointing a commissioner, which they haven't done yet. But the act doesn't give much basis that council is to rely on.
I think this is the unfortunate reality of the legislation and the antiquated nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
It more so suggests why the provincial government wholesale amended their portion in order to avoid this exact issue, that there's a lack of instruction in the act as to the criteria, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
The council's decision ultimately is the council's decision, but the fact that it's a decision means that something needs to be considered and something needs to be decided. It's not a petitioner comes and a commissioner gets appointed. There must be some criteria that needs to be considered. The unfortunate reality is this is an underused piece of legislation in the 21st century with very little guidance. And so sitting in your seats, I understand the difficulty it is with the nature of the request here by the petitioner and the request by my clients to not even appoint a commissioner. I think the criteria to really reflect on is, again, the precedent, whether or not criteria should be developed simply even by the council themselves as to what they are going to consider as a threshold going for this petition and going in the future for what needs to occur, so that there's some consistency and council could then point back and say these are our policies around the private ways petition, that you must meet this threshold. Having that policy in place is helpful. I'm not sure it's necessarily as helpful having that policy in place retroactively now that the petition is before the council, but certainly in an ideal world, every municipal council would have policy around this act, but I suspect many municipal councils are completely unaware that this is even a possibility until this was raised, because it's, as I say, it's an antiquated piece of legislation that likely should be amended wholesale, both Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 certainly makes more sense now, putting this in the realm of the courts and having a judge decide the issues. But unfortunately, Part 2 remains what it remains, which is a petition to municipal council.
Maybe this is not a fair question, but as the follow-up, with some of these issues, like prior knowledge of lack of right-of-way, would that be something that the commissioner would be considering in their report? Because ultimately, as I understand it, the commissioner reports to council, and then the council makes a decision based on that report.
It certainly could all be within that. I think the flip side to that is the engagement in a legal process is stressful and costly nonetheless. And so it ultimately is a council decision to engage in that legal process and to require a private citizen to engage in that legal process. And that decision, again, a lot of what could be considered might be overlap, but perhaps it's a much bigger picture here as to when do we want to require citizens to engage in that legal process, not so much as the validity of the petitioner's request, which is, to your point, that the validity of it, what's required and what's on the ground, perhaps a commissioner is better suited to determine that. And it's more the political side of, well, at what point are we going to, what precedent do we want to set to allow a private citizen have legal processes imposed on them, even if the petition might be the right of way might ultimately be appropriate. Perhaps it's not appropriate in the context of timing, of other alternative measures, of when the prior knowledge, all these other factors, some can be considered by the commissioner, but at some point there needs to be consideration by council as to when are we going to impose that legal process on a private citizen at no fault of their own.
Sure, okay, thank you. That's good. Yeah.
Andre, you had a question?
I'll just say, like, this is, as you said, underused or seldom used legislation, so we don't have a lot of experience with it. But a scenario where a neighbor disputes the existence, a new neighbor disputes the existence of a right-of-way, I think is not an unusual situation. And I understand the perspective that, you know, an existing landowner is there sort of minding their own business, as you will, and then a neighbor moves in and disputes their right to move over their land. And their perspective would be that, you know, why are you forcing me to defend my property rights? But the perspective, I suppose, of the new landowner would be that they may, I don't know the mind of their mind when they purchased, but they may have been of the mind that they had that property right when they purchased. It's not for me to say. So they then are also having to defend their property rights. So the argument, I feel, and we'll discuss in camera what our legal obligations are, but of sort of carrying the cost of the burden of this defense for one versus the other would be, I think, we'll speak again with our solicitor, but it would be a difficult one for us to undertake, because on what basis would we carry this cost? Because it's not unusual under the law to have to defend yourself when challenged, and sometimes you're completely, maybe it's a frivolous application, but you still have to undertake that defense. And as you know, because you're in this business, sometimes there's no merit to the application, but you still have to defend yourself. And it could be completely outside of municipal council. It could be a lawsuit for something frivolous, but you still have to defend yourself. And this is just the nature of our legal system, I believe. So we'll talk again with our solicitor, but you know, we have to define under the Act and under the regulations that we are bound to what our requirements are. But it's important that we don't lose sight that, you know, we're completely impartial. We really don't know the answer to this question, and that's why we would probably want to get an expert, get a commissioner involved that would have the knowledge, because none of us are property experts. But you know, I'm hearing everything. We see your written arguments, and we're going to obviously consider those. But I just wanted to frame that. I didn't want you just to be confronted with a wall of silence here. But this is what we're considering as we hear your commentary.
If I may comment on that, I think that's absolutely correct. That as council, again, with an antiquated piece of legislation, you're in a very difficult position to a certain degree, and if certainly my client would like no commissioner to be appointed, and that's where if a commissioner is appointed, there's reassurances that we'd also be seeking in order to help protect the affected landowners as well. But one thing I think we should note that a legal process would be engaged within the court system where there's the proper civil procedure rules and all the other protections that all parties would have. And that's the issue partly with the Private Ways Act and the commissioner appointment, is those rules, procedural fairness. It's not defined in the act. It's very unclear how anything should proceed. And so to your point, certainly people do have to defend even against frivolous applications, but they defend those in Supreme Court with rules that allow for quick dispositions of claims that are frivolous. They have costs and clear cost rules around the parties who participate if it's a frivolous application. And so there's more protection and there's people who are trained with legal knowledge to be sitting in those positions of judging what the argument should be. And so that's partly the concern around a private ways petition, is that we're not necessarily inside a legal realm of courtroom type of disputes with the rules. We're sort of in a realm where there's no clear rules and there's no clear system for ensuring that fairness of an application.
And also, this would be the fourth time. This is not the first time. This would be the fourth time that I've defended my property rights on the same types of issues at my expense.
Yeah, well, I'm no lawyer, and we aren't gonna make a decision until we have a lot more legal advice than we have at the moment. Oh, sorry, Tina. But, you know, I'm just an ordinary guy. It would seem to me that if the two parties could settle it amongst themselves, it'd be a lot simpler matter.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving us the time again,
Tina,
unless there's
Tina
further
had a question.
questions.
Tina wanted to.
Thank you. Yes, it's not actually a question for these gentlemen. It's a question to my counsel. And during my time here on council, we have gone in camera suddenly, or in the middle of a proceeding, middle of an agenda. I don't know if we have other timely items on the agenda, but my suggestion for consideration is that we actually look at going in camera now, because we will be dealing with it later, but let's go in camera now, if that would be the will of council, discuss this item, see if we are comfortable with that, and then, if we are, when we come out of in camera, we move the item 10.6 of where we're discussing this up on the agenda for the respect of the people that might want to stick around. These are all business individuals.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I just thought Sam may need more time.
That's
Didn't
fair.
get-
That's more than
yeah,
fair, too.
Yeah, so I
so-
didn't, so I wasn't sure, you know, I mean, some of this is just stuff he heard this morning, so I don't know whether he's prepared to come up with a real conclusion at the moment or not.
So my question to continue then would be, because we will be discussing this, would be my guess, in camera at the end of the agenda. We still break, we go in camera, we then come out, and if we know we're not gonna deal with 10.6 today, we let individuals know, and they're not gonna be here for the next 2 hours.
No, I just don't know whether,
I'm prepared to discuss it. I mean, I'm not saying we'll come to,
Absolutely.
we could have an in-camera discussion. I'm not saying there would be any conclusions. I may have more questions and,
well, I guess I'm assuming that you have more questions that you wanna take a look at, so therefore we wouldn't come to a conclusion, so I almost know it before we start.
So then, so again, are we saying that we're taking 10.6 off the agenda?
I would say we are.
Okay, so then
In
everyone here that
theory,
wants to stick around can
Until we
leave.
get the proper legal advice and he has time to give us that,
Done.
we wouldn't be making that decision today, you know? And that would be,
yeah, well, I think what I'd like to do is just go through Mr. Moore's comments, you know, in some detail, and then give council my take on it.
yeah, which you aren't gonna do until today, you know, that's what I mean.
Maybe you
So,
should make a motion to remove.
To take it off.
Or table it.
Yeah, motion to defer that item.
So move.
Seconder,
Second.
discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. That's just the way life is.
No, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity
I
here.
mean, you know, you
Thank
brought
you.
up a lot of issues, and we need to have proper legal advice that's to make that decision.
So Warden, before you guys break, can I speak for a moment?
Technically not, but
Now, I wasn't expecting to have to reply to this.
I know, I would need the permission of council to,
I'm a yes.
okay? Yep, okay, you can speak.
I'll be very brief.
Okay.
Kind of a biblical moment. Feel like Daniel in the lion's den. A lot of interesting points. Kind of a, there's an old saying about political speeches. Point here and a point there, and a lot of bull in between. So there was a lot of points. To my way of thinking, there's only 2 points here.
One's a moral question about should people have access? The other question is a legal question. Does council have the ability to appoint a commissioner? I think that's an easy question to answer. Yes, they do. As to the suggestion from council behind me that this municipal council rewrite provincial law and put down a bunch of rules and regulations, that strikes me as something that is not within your ability and should not be part of the consideration. The law is fairly clear. Anyway, thank you for your consideration. I said I'd be brief.
Thank you, you were. It's uncommon. Okay, we are on to 9.1, to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you, council. This is a procedural request for decision. So we had, back in March, council passed a motion to approve 2 amendments to the remuneration of policy P09. But we realized that council did not officially pass first notice of this policy change. So this is, again, our error. So we're bringing it back for first notice of something council has already approved and has already been implemented.
So we need to give first notice.
Yes.
To make it right.
Yes.
Somebody prepared to move, we give first notice? Seconded, moved and seconded. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. 9.2, flag raising protocol policy amendment.
Yes. So council staff are looking for a motion to give first notice that council intends to approve at a future meeting the proposed amendments to the flag raising policy, which is essentially adding the day of mourning so that we don't have to come back every year to get council to approve that via motion.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Let me see. 9.3, marketing levy bylaw. You want us to postpone that for a bit?
Yes, good morning, council. Because I know you have a long agenda, so I'm gonna try to keep this nice and quick, because I'm gonna make the assumption that people have read the package. But just to go over it very quickly, back in May, council approved a bylaw to adopt the marketing levy effective January 1st, 2026. At the time, we recommended an approach where we would work with the platform operators such as Airbnb, VRBO to collect and remit directly to the municipality. And that would ensure each operator did not have to do so individually, and we have about 200 to 250 operators, so we wanted to try to keep administratively it tighter. Because we're a small municipality, and I think most municipalities in Nova Scotia are, we have very limited ability to compel these larger multinational corporations to work with us. So we had been advocating for the province to take a more active role to do this provincially. So instead of having 49 individual municipalities, we would have one body, the province, that would work with Airbnbs and to do that. They have agreed to look into this, and so they are currently supporting AMANs in looking at options for how they could do this at a provincial level as opposed to each individual municipality doing it themselves. Because of that, though, the unintended consequences side is the platforms are no longer willing to enter into individual agreements while that process plays out. So essentially they have said, we are not going to enter into an agreement to collect and remit until this process has finished up. So right now, the way the process works is in about 6 months, we're expecting a report from the province on what these options could look like. That will not be the end of the process, just so everybody knows. We expect if they decide to proceed with the provincial approach, we anticipate it will take about 2 years for them to get it in place. But because of all of this coming to place, we're recommending that we delay the implementation of the marketing levy bylaw to January 1st, 2027, so by a full year. The reason we're not extending it further is because of the fact that we want to see their report in about 6 months, and then we can come back with a decision as to whether or not we continue to wait for the province to get their their approach in place, or as to whether or not we move forward with our own local options. So that's the recommendation from council. There are other, it's not to council. There are other options here, but I just wanted to put that forward.
What are other municipal units doing across Nova Scotia?
Right now, like for example, let's use HRM as an example. They already had an agreement with be in place. So any agreements that the online platforms have made with existing municipal units, they continue to honor. They just will not enter into new ones with organizations that have adopted a marketing levy since let's say this summer. So right now, anybody who had a levy in place prior to that is moving forward as if they were. There are some that are doing it the option 2, which is here in front of you, where they're getting each individual operator to collect and remit directly. That's an approach that I believe is being taken by Bridgewater, the town of Bridgewater. They, though, have a lot fewer Airbnbs or short-term rentals than we have here locally. So that's why our approach is to delay, just because it would be a lot of administrative work for each of our operators, and then we may have to change it again in a year's time. So we just wanted to put that forward as a recommendation.
And it would also be significant extra work for our finance staff and our
Yes.
economic development staff,
Change it up.
tracking all of that with the individual operators, yeah.
Are we comfortable with that? Abdel?
Yeah, that was my question, actually.
Yeah.
You know, you've invested a lot of time in this project here. So, Brian, if it comes to pass that the province is gonna do that, so, I guess what I'm saying is all the work you've done, do you feel that you'll have some say, or was it a waste of time in your mind, or?
No, I believe that we have been involved in this process in getting the province to look at these options, all the steps along the way. And to be completely frank, I believe we will probably be helping support them because we've already made the contacts and started to have these conversations, whereas I don't believe the people that they're hiring right now or working with have done that yet. So we will likely feed into that process. So I feel like it will, if it were to come to pass, we would be very thankful. That's the way we would put it,
Okay,
yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I'm prepared to make a
motion to-
motion
Yep.
to delay the implementation.
Seconder? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.4. Amendment to Village Land Use Bylaw, Old Stone Bridge. At least you can use the Old Stone Bridge now.
Councillor Bremer.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bremer.
I'd like to declare a conflict. This is my landlord that owns this property, so I'm going to step aside.
Okay, so let the minutes reflect that.
All right, good morning, council. So this is essentially a information report at this point. Reason for that being that is a request to change some provisions in the land use bylaw, but does not require corresponding policy changes to our secondary planning strategy. In short, when we did our new village plan review that was adopted earlier this year, we revised the way in which the setback, there are 2 setbacks around the old stone bridge, and those have been in place under the previous bylaw as well. Our intent was to clarify and map what the setback was, so you could just quickly pull up a map and see an area of where you can't build, and then there's a further circle within which an engineering study is required to confirm that there'll be no damage to the bridge as a result of your project. So our intent was to clarify it. The old way was the center line of the bridge was described, and it was 60 meters long, and at any point along that center line, you would draw a 15-meter circle, and no structure could be within that circle. What we attempted to do was just make a center point of the bridge with a larger circle, but with the outer edges roughly matching up for clarity, and then we were able to put that on a map. The unintended consequence that this application has shown is that for a select number of properties that are adjacent to the bridge itself, the radius of each circle was different. So because we're drawing a larger circle from the center versus a smaller circle closer to the area, there were portions of a couple of properties that now would be shown as undevelopable. And that was not the intent of the change. The change was just to clarify and maintain the existing setback. So tricky to see there, but the inner green circle is the area within which nothing can be built, and the outer circle is within which you need to have an engineering report. In the full staff report that comes forward, when this proceeds, we can, I'll compare and contrast the old to the new to show the specific change. But all that to say, staff feel upon an initial review that the applicant has a fair case here, and there was a fairly significant impact on just a couple of properties, one of which is the subject property of his request. Staff feel that it's reasonable to take a look at this and essentially try to maintain the setback from the old bylaw, but still have something on the map. And I've spoken to our mapping technicians. I think there's a way to do that. This is essentially giving notice to council that this will be proceeding through the Village Planning Advisory Committee for a recommendation, and then
To make that map change.
That's right, and then ultimately coming back to council.
Andre?
Thank you. I have to admit that I was not aware of this requirement to maintain the setback from the bridge. Can you help me? Is it just like residential structures and things that are governed by this, or like marine structures and wharves and stuff also prohibited?
Yeah, basically anything that we would have jurisdiction over, which would be a wharf if it's connected to the shore. And my understanding, I think it was before my time, is that there actually was a wharf or a dock proposed that was rejected because the study showed that some of the work around the pilings potentially could have a negative impact on the bridge. So anything that we would be requiring development permits for would be subject to that. Yeah. So, and again, so the inner green is no structures, and the outer area is you need a study to show that whatever you're proposing will not negatively impact the bridge itself.
Yeah, when I think about normal building practices for a house, or whatever, that you'd expect to see in this area, try to imagine how it would actually impact this bridge. I mean, where did this come from? Like, was it just an idea that somebody had one time, or did it come from some sort of technical?
I'd have to do a little more digging into the previous bylaw and possibly even the iteration before that. I know it's been in place since the early 2000s. I don't know if it goes further than that. So I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the bridge is a provincially registered heritage structure.
Right.
To your point, we don't have similar rules around other heritage structures. So
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm going with it, because I think about, you know, what would be the issue here? You dig, or you do some little excavation or something? It just seems like it would be, like, what? How did this come to be? And is it just one of these things that just somebody thought was a good idea, and it just kind of continued on for 30 or 42 years until somebody said, why are we doing this? Or is this actually rooted in some sort of technical document that it was a recommendation from some sort of consultant or geotechnical expert?
We would need to do the
Yeah,
research to
need to
find
do
that out. And
bit
if
of a
it was,
deep dive.
if it is that this was in place in the early 2000s, the land use bylaw regulations would predate the designation of the bridge as a historic structure, because that wasn't until 2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
I don't remember the details of it, but I mean, it was basically brought up because it was a historic bridge, and there were people in the community that were concerned, and I can remember Butch Heisler being involved and that kind of stuff.
I guess, you know, I'm fine with adjusting the wording of the bylaw, you know, center
And the
line
mapping.
or at the ends, or however we wish to do it. But in your follow-up report, if you could provide the background on actually how we got here, because if all we're doing is just perpetuating something that never made sense in the first place, I don't want to be part of that. If this is just, you know, some people in the village that just thought it was a good idea, but there's no actual technical merit to the request, then let's remove this requirement and this burden on these landowners completely. That would be option 3, or whatever that you put in your report when you come. You know, otherwise, if it actually makes sense, if there's some sort of reason for it, and we want to change the way we define that, I don't have a problem with that, as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, so take a look at the mapping and take a look at the history.
Yes, we'll bring back a summary, and it'll be good education for all of us, so, yep, absolutely.
Sharon?
Thank you, Warden. I recall sitting on the planning committee, and there was something about this area being a marine zone, and that it impacted some of these properties, and I think this one in particular. So I don't know, you might, maybe that is why they have to be back
Right.
so far from the water, therefore it pushes them closer to the bridge. So you might want to look at that. It was something that
Yeah.
was
too long
in
ago for
place. And I don't know whether the marine zone has changed a bit, but I know that there was some zoning changes there, so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, absolutely, I'll go back into the background documents and see what I can find.
Okay, thank you.
Della?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I just, looking at it from the petitioner or he would have a great case that we don't have any regulations around heritage sites. And this being a heritage site, that would be my argument, I guess, on his behalf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I don't, like, to Andre's point, I don't get why they would do it on a bridge. Like, and the circle thing is wild to me. Like, usually it's not a circle anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, and that is, I think it's a fair point to see whether it's, what the original justification was for it.
Yeah.
Were there studies
why
to
are we
show
even
that it
doing
was
it?
susceptible?
Yeah.
And is that still the case today? So, yeah, absolutely.
Great, thanks, Gary.
Okay, so we're comfortable with him just taking a review of it and
Yeah, and it'll,
Bringing it
yeah,
back.
come through the Village Planning Advisory Committee and then back to council for first reading, so.
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Thank you.
9.5. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I'll go get it.
I'll go find him. Somebody will find him. Oh, maybe he did.
Did you get Tom? Yeah.
I guess he's coming. Yeah, here he is. Okay, compressed work week options. I'm getting tired of not being able to find anybody as it is. Yeah, we're on to the compressed work week options.
All right, I guess this is me. Before I start, I am here representing a working group. So I want to make sure that I say that up front. So I am going to do my best to reflect the variety of options that came through that process. So please, if you have any questions, just remember I am one voice and I will do my best to try to reflect them all, but I just want to point that out, okay? So just to kick us off, this request for decision is coming forward because council asked staff back in 2023 to explore the options related to looking at a 4-day compressed work week for one of the flex work options for staff to have in the human resource policy. So that happened back in 2023, and what I was going to do here today is just walk through the process that has taken place since then, how we got to the recommendation that we have here in front of everyone. And the first thing that we did is we looked at a jurisdictional scan, because there are a number of municipal units across the province that currently have a 4-day compressed work week as their flexible work option for staff. So we contacted every municipal unit that has those just to look at how they worked, what the challenges were that they were experiencing, how they were received by staff, all the different reasons for why they exist. And while I won't go through all of the things that we found in that process, one of the things that we wanted to just raise here for council's information is the fact that the majority, I would say all of, except for potentially 1 or 2 of the municipal units, the compressed work week is their sole flex work option that they have for staff, and it is used by all of staff. So there's not a number of different options that exist that predate the implementation of a compressed 4-day work week in a lot of these municipal units. So because obviously here at the Municipality of Chester, we already have flex work options that exist in our human resource policy, we proceeded as a working group, and I should clarify, the working group is made up of all the different teams within the municipal office, so it wasn't just, it was across all of the different units in our staff here. So the working group proceeded to kind of look at the options for what a compressed work week could look like that would allow the current flex work options to continue, and that would allow compressed work week to be added as an option. So it would become a fourth option, essentially, is what we were kind of looking at originally for the compressed work week in our flex work options in our human resource policy, and also at direction of council to ensure that service levels were not impacted. So the idea is we do not want to impact the service levels, opening hours, things like that here at the municipal office. The second step that was undertaken was staff were surveyed to gauge the interest in adding this as an option, whether or not it would be utilized, whether or not we would be able to add this as an option for staff that are not currently taking a flex work option, things like that. And it allowed us to gauge the interest. The details of what we heard were included as an attachment, so I won't go through all those, but if you're interested in how staff responded, it's included as an attachment to this report itself. The final phase that we did as a working group to look at this is we worked with each of the departmental directors to essentially take a look at what this would look like in practice. So would this work for our teams? So if a percentage of staff decided that they wanted to do a compressed 4-day work week, what would that look like? Would it impact our service levels? What would it essentially map it out? Pretend that it's already in existence today and see if the scenarios modeled would actually work or if they caused any pinch points or problems. So overall, in the scheduling that we did indicated that yes, it could be feasible, but it was complicated. So essentially that's where we arrived at the staff recommendation. So the staff recommendation, based on all the information that was presented and all the information that was collected, was rather than adding a fourth flex work option to our human resource policy, it's to modify the terms of the earned day off, because presently in our human resource policy, an earned day off is permissible every 15 days, which is once every 3 weeks. So you work a compressed additional hours throughout the 3 weeks of your work, and then every third, whatever day it is on a regular schedule, you take that day off. So it's your earned day off. So the recommendation that is coming out of this is to amend that policy to make it more flexible to allow for an earned day off every 5 to 15 days. So essentially 1 to 3 weeks. So
But they have to have earned it through.
They have to have earned it, so they still have to have worked the hours, and they could get that day off on a set schedule every 1, 2, or 3 weeks. So they could compress it to a 4-day work week if they were able to work all those hours in a single week, or if it was not able to be worked in a single week, they could do it every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, based on conversations with their director. Because that's where the recommendation really came out of, is the fact that in certain situations, it would be, I don't want to say easy, but it would be very feasible for staff to work a 4-day compressed work week, but then there are other teams where it would be a lot more difficult to work that. So it would be in conversations with the director to keep more control over that, to ensure that it worked with the team flow and with staff complements as it fits with other work from home and the other flex work options that we already have existing. So there are a number of different advantages and benefits that I won't go through here, and we've also outlined a number of different options here, just to mention, because there were discussion around, for example, the fact that one option that council may wish to consider is deferring a decision until we have a single point of contact, so a single counter, because right now that's one of the things that has caused some issues. You'll notice as well, though, in that recommendation, why that was not a recommended option is the fact that at the present time, we had no timeline for that. So it's when it would delay it, and it wouldn't be able to be used as a tool to encourage people to, that this is a fantastic place to work, et cetera, et cetera. There are other options here, like not making any changes, or obviously other direction from council. So that is the presentation of what comes. The recommendation, as I said, was to modify that EDO to just make it more flexible, and we feel that achieves.
Carol wants to
Go
speak
ahead,
to a
yes.
few points before we.
Yeah, I just want to add a couple points of context to what you said. So the reason, when we did our human resource policy and reviewed that and put FlexWorks policies in there, one of the things we considered at the time to not just use, because you heard that many municipalities just have the 4-day work week. So there was a number of reasons we did not go with that option. It was, one, many, as you've heard, many staff cannot take advantage of that 4-day work week. So we wanted some options that allowed for staff who would not be able to do a 4-day work week to be able to have other options or work from home. Like, we were trying to provide some additional
Everybody treated
flexibility. So that's one reason we went with the model we went with. And the other was that many of the municipalities that do have that 4-day work week have also extended their hours. So instead of an 8:30 to 4:30 day, they have, say, a 7:30 or an 8 until 5 or 5:30. So they've extended that so that when staff say it's a front counter person, when they, and it maybe they're, say, our development officer, or maybe it's Brian, and so that they're available to the public that extended hours, so that they would have to work in order to make up for getting that 4th day off, they have to work extended hours.
Yep.
And so in the model we're suggesting, those extra hours are worked either before our office is open or after our office is open, which makes them unavailable to the public. So because council had said they didn't want to change our hours, we were looking at options that fit in there. So just wanted to provide that context. It's been a very difficult process. That's why it's, you're 2 years in. The committee went back and forth many different times, and so this is the sort of recommended solution to address the concerns that you had heard when you asked us to come back with the report. So, yep.
Sharon?
Just looking at it, I think it would make sense in my mind to wait until we got that one person for the central entry, and then it would free up staff if they, wanted some time off. I think it would make sense to wait for that, in my mind. And I don't know if that is the position that we just hired, or.
So yeah, the new position that we have as in not in Public Works, it's a shared position with Public Works and Finance and Solid Waste. And so it's a front counter person, first point of contact, but it's one position, and it's kind of just easing us into that one point of contact. It does not address the concerns with other departments and their front counter staff, because we are over now to, the top floor of the annex, the bottom floor of the annex, the Public Works building in here, whereas a lot of the municipalities that are doing this, like Modal, have one front counter and everybody goes to that same one front counter. So it makes the model work a little easier for them, but. Yeah.
Andre?
I don't want this. I didn't ever want any of this. I don't think it's needed. I don't even know what problem it is that we're trying to overcome with this, frankly. This idea that somehow this is going to make it an attractive place to work, and that otherwise we'll have a hard time, I guess, attracting people. Well, the rest of the world has all gone back to work. The rest of the world is all realizing that all these weird hours and being at home when the office hours are and all that stuff, it doesn't work. And I think that's what the public expects. They expect our people here, and most of our staff work in a collaborative way. And now, according to the summary, less than half of them are interested in participating in this program. So some people will be here 5 days a week. Some people will be here 4 days a week. Others have other potential options of how they're working. It's a mess. And I don't know why we're pursuing this. I want to take this to the woodshed and leave it there. Because it makes no sense whatsoever, and I don't think if I talk to anybody in my district, I don't think there's one person that would enthusiastically say, this is a great idea, I can't wait until I show up there and ask for somebody and realize that they're only there 4 days a week. And I came on a Friday or a Wednesday or whatever it is, and that's not actually a day they work because they don't work on Wednesdays, they only work 4 days a week. Because the rest of the world works 5 days a week. And, when you go to the post office, you expect people to be there 5 days a week, or 6, or whatever, like it just, this idea that somehow half of our staff are gonna maybe be not around 20% of the time, and like they're trying to work with other departments, and they're there 5 days, so, it's like, this is so-and-so's day off, because they only work 4 days, and I'm here 5 days, so I guess I'll have to wait till next week. There's no way that this is gonna make us a better organization. I reject this, I will fight this until the end.
Okay, anyone else have anything to say? What do we want to do?
I move that we do not proceed with any compressed work week.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Remains as is.
Thank you.
They still have the flex time.
Still have the other flex option.
Okay. Maybe we should take a short break. So we're live, and we'll call the meeting back to order. Happy Halloween, everybody. You know, I apologize, but I gotta take this mask off or else I can't see, I can't speak. But we just thought we'd do this for the fun of it, so, yeah, happy Halloween. See you all tonight. There we go. I'll put the hat back on. That I can live with.
That looks good.
Yeah, well, it's a good hat, yeah. Okay, so where are we in all this? We are on to 10.1, Financial Information Services.
I'm dressed as someone getting over a cold.
I see that.
I'm hoping to share information, not illness.
Jeez, my two sisters both have COVID.
So, good morning, council.
They don't live with me, but.
What I have before you here is my quarterly department update. So the fiscal year is half over now, and here we go. So this one's a little bit less intense than the last one I brought to you, but I figured I'd stick to just the highlights. In general, in the finance side in particular, the counter has been by far the most sustained and most busy period that I've seen in my time here by a long margin the last couple months. In particular, the final tax bills have recently gone out. However, the mail stopped moving the day that we mailed them. So then we put a post out on Facebook saying, hey, here's how you can get your tax bills, email, phone, come on in. That drove a huge increase of point of contact with our staff. However, now that the mail is moving, albeit slowly again, that's reduced a little bit, although still quite busy because it is final tax bill season. And also we're continuing to work on getting written permission to send bills by email, which is now allowed under the new MGA changes last year. So hopefully that'll help reduce burden on mail as well as cost and make things a little more efficient moving forward. Another thing that's been taking up a lot of time is the water coupons. This has been, again, the unprecedented volume of water coupons. I know Bruce has been giving excellent updates with that for all the details of the numbers and all that, but just to say it has been absolutely constant downstairs, and it seems to be ramping up every single 2-week period. So there's been an awful lot of that. Another one is the recent...
Fix it on Friday.
What's that?
Should come get better on Friday.
Yeah, the little bit of rain we've been getting lately has been very helpful. However, there's quite a deficit to be filled there.
We're gonna get a lot tomorrow.
Sticking with the topic of water, the recent updates to the water supply lending program to increase the maximum amount has been hugely popular. Taken up, again, a lot of time. But it's great to see a lot of people are really happy to have this program and taking advantage. It's a great way for the municipality to invest our money to get a modest return while also allowing community members to increase their access to water on their homes. So as of when I wrote this report last week, prior to the change in the bylaw, there were 22 active water loans. Since the change up to last Monday, we've processed another 30 applications, so 5 of which had been totally processed through to paying the bill and outstanding loans.
If I could just, this program has been taken advantage of in my area, I know just firsthand at least 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there have been a lot.
The uptick's been, it's just been such a help to them.
Yeah.
And
Well, for years, nobody was using it.
unbelievable. I figured it was quite an uptake, but man, this is, but that's what it's for.
Absolutely, it's been great.
Absolutely, I mean, I think it's great, so.
Yeah, a lot of people have been very appreciative. As you can imagine, the drillers are all very busy, so
And
not a lot of them have gone all the way through
I will say
yet.
that people that I talked to had nothing but good things to say about the staff, about how they, how they walked them through the process, and so I thank you and the staff for that. That means a lot to people that just don't know, and they're, it's a big commitment for them, and some people, it's a big commitment.
Yeah, thank you for that. It has been a priority for us to get this moving quickly because we know how important water is for people. So as of, again, last Monday, another 18 had been approved and are just awaiting the drilling and billing. And then 6 more were in process. I can say off the top of my head, I've approved 10 more since I filled this report last Monday.
How much more budget do we have left?
So that's the next part here. So, as of September 30th, under this municipal program, we had lent a total of just over $200,000. And that's drawn against that municipal lending reserve that we established with the $2.4 million. In addition to that 202,000, there's another 82,700 and change that had been loaned for the PACE program. There are 3 active PACE loans. So that's total remaining balance of just over $2.1 million out of the 2.4. Now, of course, as these loans get issued and they start being paid back, that then replenishes the balance. So I will definitely be including this detail in the quarterly reports going forward to where we're at, so we can keep an eye on that balance for the PACE program and for the water and septic upgrades. It feels funny reading some of these numbers because of how much has changed in the week and a bit since then, but if all the outstanding approved loans had taken the full 30,000, which most of them are not, they're coming less than that, that would be another 720,000 taken down from that 2.1, so that would bring you down to about 1.4-ish. And then the other 10 since then be another 300,000. So we are going through it fairly quickly, but I will continue to provide updates on that number. Over to the Information Services Department, or Division. So in IT support, continuing to onboard new staff. There's been a lot of new staff this year, as you're all well aware. 2 so far up to the end of the quarter, and then another 5 since the end of September. So we're ramping up there, as well as managing a higher number of help desk tickets than average. On the IT systems side, they're working on the Bell phone systems conversion. That's something that's being pushed to us from Bell, but looks like it will be a significant increase in the quality of the service that they provide us. It's just a lot of work to get through it. Also finished setting up the new Public Works facility for all their IT system needs, and have implemented new system backup processes and infrastructure for that. On the record management side, so we've gone through the physical records, the boxes of documents that were stored at our access storage lockers, to be reviewed and sorted for either destruction or moving to the new Public Works facility storage areas to remove our reliance on that rental storage. We've also built a new records disposition workflow, and we're currently working on implementing that process. On the FOIPOP side, we're continuing to respond to higher than normal volumes, however, not quite as high as that big spike we had somewhat recently, but still higher than we're accustomed to before that began. GIS and mapping, so the server move and web mapping upgrades are nearing completion, and in particular drone flight requests have increased drastically to help with some of the asset management and mapping work that's being done around all the departments. On the procurement side, internally, we're continuing to deal with a historically large capital budget and the needs of procurement along with that. Libby has come in and done an amazing job. She's working as well as anybody could be imagined in there, and there's always more to get done, but we're getting through it. It's good to see. Externally, we're also supporting the Chester Volunteer Fire Department through some of their procurements. In particular, the fire hall is one big one that they're going through right now. Yeah. And we're assisting the trustees of the Zobel Library with some significant procurement project for them as well. On the financial reporting and budgeting side, we finally got through all the 24-25 fiscal year end and all the reporting into the province. The only thing outstanding was the financial information return, although I can tell you that that's now actually been completed within the last week. And all the 25-26 budget documents that the province requires have been submitted as well. We're continuing to work on implementing the Questica budget software, and preparations for the next year's budget have begun already. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
All sounds reasonable. You got it all under control, at least. And
yeah, we're keeping busy, that's for sure.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, 10.2, Department of Public Works. You guys aren't doing much of anything. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah. Anyway, staff are doing very well. In the interest of time, I'll keep this fairly short. If there's any questions, day-to-day activities or operational projects, just show it at the end of my presentation. But as some of the future programming, and this will involve other reports, would be the possibility of 11.5 kilometers of new trail. That report's coming up. Lots of new roads and sidewalks. So we got the sidewalk machine and wood chipper Ironically, we got the wood chipper the day before the fire ban. Anyway, we're back up and running, right? We're gonna continue looking at potable water, and that could be quite a big undertaking, but we're looking forward to finding that out. And of course, more work with the community wells. 2 reports coming up on that later today. Water and wastewater, we're looking at that for Hubbard's, exit 6. And then, water access and general beautification projects, which also the Water Street development, look at the possibility there once the Tancook Ferry leaves. New admin facility and rec facility, that's been combined. That will close next month, but Gord's got an update on that. And then looking at the new benches and Wild Rose Park development, now that I understand the contractor's back down there.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and elimination of the speed radar program and the marine boat pump, so we're taking care of those. For capital, I will do a quick one for all these, just so we have any questions and updates. For the trail bridges, 3 of the bridges involved repointing, but there's a certain type of year you're allowed to do that with the water concerns, so they've all been put off till next year because of the ban. But at East River Bridge, that should be done. And King Street Bridge hasn't been removed, obviously, but Department of Natural Resources, that's their project. But we'll have to put the appropriate gates and signage up when that's complete. Accessible outhouses also put off. We did some work there before the fire ban, but we're just reviewing the drawings. Hubbard's, we're hopeful to get a permit from Highways. That's been one of the holdups right now. And they will start and work until the weather closes them down. New Ross Phase 1 will be next year, but that's been awarded. Gold River Trail Bridge, they're working, and there'll be a continued effort till that's complete. Open spaces and the Han Property Chad's group is working on that. I assume they've already also been delayed by the fire ban. Chester Commons, we're looking at some design concerns. There was some discussion on that. That will be some follow-up for later. New Ross Sidewalk Phase 2 closes in a couple weeks, and that will be scheduled for work next year. There's been some work in the natural area of the Han Trail, and that small section of sidewalk on Western Shore, we have the drawings, the survey done of that. We just had to put the design and tender that. That'll be next year as well. The ICIP sewer projects, all the Sanford Lake servicing has been complete.
Oh, sorry, Andre, you had a question?
Just a small comment about
Sure.
the Han Trail. I've been out there a couple times. It's a nice little trail. I think it's gonna be well used.
Yeah.
But there's no, there's a porta potty there, but there's nothing for capturing solid waste. And I noticed that, I know it's more maintenance and
Yeah.
more for our public works guys to handle, but it's sort of like, it's encouraging people to leave dog poop bags and stuff all over the place and other materials that they don't,
Yeah.
they just aren't taking with them. Nobody
Yeah,
wants to
that's
take a
always a
dog
problem.
poop. They
Yeah.
do not want to take a dog poop bag in their car.
Yeah.
So I think we need to come up with some sort of something. I know this is very operational, but just I thought.
Yeah, and I'll have
Since
a
you
good-
brought it up, I thought I'd say.
Yeah, no, I'll chat about this with Chad, and we're kind of working together on that, and Rex's doing a great job out there, and some of our heavy equipment contract work has been through that, so, yeah. Yeah, so the ICIP project's a big project. Phase 1 is essentially done, and they were able to do a bit of Phase 2 under that one in the same budget. The remaining 2 lift stations, Pig Loop and Mallard Lane, will be out soon to tender, and they're working on the Chester treatment plant now. The 1-ton truck and crane, we're trying to right-size that, do a little bit of science of what kind of crane we need on the trucks, because if it's oversized, then we're all into log books, different class of driving and that, so we're trying to be a little bit more prepared there. Lift station upgrades, they should also be out soon. And those will be invitational bids. The values will be pretty low on that. Otter Point, we're working on the contract award for that. Chester Basin, that should be tendered in January. We're looking at the 66% drawings right now, and they're pretty darn close, so they're doing good work. That should be out fairly soon.
Yeah. Everybody thought it was gonna start in this month, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah, we certainly tried. Western Shore, work in progress, Abco Industrial, replacing some of the materials on one of our clarifiers. And then we're gonna troubleshoot to see what we need to have in place in a couple of years, if anything. Should have brought my glasses. Oh, yeah, we tendered yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, lenses.
I've had to cover that for her, anyway. Yeah. Yeah, the roofs, we got the purchase order for that, they should be completed soon. Removing the Parade Square boat pump. Community wells, that's gonna follow. The wood chipper, we do have that, 3/4 ton truck. We're picking that up on Monday, we got the purchase order of that going. The annex building security, that's being constructed right now.
They look good on you, Fred.
And I don't think there's any magnification on this, so I'm gonna, anyway, yeah, thanks.
I got 1.5, if that's.
Yeah, no, this is better, all right, yeah. Yeah, the annex, they're, working on that right now. And right now, the people that are working there, they're in their old public works facility, room there. Mill Cove, more to come on that. And the admin building, again, that's folded into the rec facility, and the public works facility's up and running. Well, pretty much, there's a few things we've forgotten, we'll get through there. The potential potable water source, that's a further discussion this morning. And a lot of these other ones are in the motion of getting completed or soon tendered. And for, the RIDs are essentially solid waste. Stevens Road has been completed. There's likely deficiencies there. We're looking with the Department of Transportation. It's their project, right? And the baskets didn't go forward, and the public moorings have been completed for this year, so.
Lots on the go, Fred.
Yeah, we're,
fair bit, yeah.
but, it's a big bubble right now, and then we gotta do the asset management for this and just be playing it out for there, so there's a lot on the ball, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you're getting quite a bit of it done too, so, you know.
Yeah, it's good to see, finally getting out, yeah.
Anyone, any additional questions? Nope, thank you. You get a lot of stuff.
Fred, you should go for round glasses, they look good on you, Fred.
Solid waste.
Oh, good morning. Yeah, so I try to raise it from last one, so. No, I'm okay with this right at the moment, but the one I may need later, but. Anyway, so just a quick rundown of what's been going on with us in the last quarter. So as you can see in the report, the overall tonnage compared to last year, we're up again, so about 11%. It's some areas, as you can see, are up. Residual waste is up again. We've had certainly another surge of contaminated soils. That there seems to be a couple of projects and just random events that are coming up that's driving that, which has a certain benefit that some of the materials can eventually be used for operational cover at the site. So there is an added value for seeing those materials come in and all that. So with that, on the regulatory side, we have been doing some coordination with Nova Scotia Environment in regards of a couple of our operating permits. So we have received interim approval for the C&D disposal area, pending some discussions on some of the changes to our groundwater surface monitoring program. And also, we're proceeding with combining the C&D operating permit with our regular municipal solid waste permit into one common operating permit. That application's now gone in as before Nova Scotia Environment for their approval. So I think there was a lot of discussion basically centered around there's a lot of operational commonalities between the two. And also, since they're so closely situated to each other, I think everybody just agreed it made more sense to just go with one
permit.
Yeah, so that's in the works. We did submit our biannual landfill gas survey to Environment Canada, And just particular note that there is going to be an impact, there'll be another report coming at future dates to discuss that, but there is, based on the results of that work, as flagged, that we will have some federal compliance items we'll need to discuss at a further date, but.
So we actually have more landfill gas escaping than we used to?
No, we basically, we are hard at a threshold that the incoming federal regulations will require more treatment and collection treatment. I'll say that for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a related item, we have sort of partnered with Flex Lab, so it's a graduate program out of St. Vax that they did fly to site and did some initial drone surveys to try to get some measurements on methane that is being generated by the landfill. We're just waiting on the lab results. It'll be a little bit of time, and I think we've since then had some discussion on further collaboration in that regard with them. So that, and then we've had some discussions with Nova Scotia Environment and DNR regarding accessing nearby lakes for fire protection. We normally would rely on the stormwater ponds that we have on the site, but given the drought conditions this past summer,
There's not much stormwater.
it was pretty low, so we've remedied that to a certain degree, or at least got enough of a interim buy-in, and then there'll be some other activities to go with that longer term, but we at least have a plan B now, so. Region 6, just ongoing discussions regarding particularly the extended EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility Program that's launching December 1st, and just some of the coordinating with Divert Nova Scotia reporting, and just other discussions within the Region 6 community, if you will. And with also with the report, just to provide our notice on certain contracts that have been awarded regarding Cell 4B construction. In terms of Dexter's Construction, it did win the contract for construct the next cell. And then CBCL has been awarded contracts related to all the compliance inspection, project management pieces, et cetera, with that. Overall, we're tracking under budget at the moment.
Oh, that's a good thing.
So far, we'll keep our fingers crossed in terms of construction, so. And as we've sort of previously noted, the contract for the new industrial shredder has been awarded. It has been on site for about a couple months now, and so far so good in terms of what we're seeing performance. We're hoping to do some verification surveys just to make sure that see how the compaction rate is being impacted. I think anecdotally the team's liking what we're seeing coming off of the shredder and that, so we're definitely seeing anecdotally the impact that we had hoped for. The Septic Lagoon, that clean out work was completed over the summer. That was awarded to Bishop's Water out of Ontario. We're hoping to get a more routine, long-term removal program, just so we keep a little bit better ahead of it and more consistent upkeep of that. And we've just made some general site improvements, particularly the main public-facing areas around the scale house and at the entrances. So obviously, it's
make it look prettier.
A little bit better. And it is a public-facing side of the operation, so it's try to that. And we're working with Libby, our procurement officer, on securing the other equipment that's been included in the capital budget for this year. So.
And you seem to have it under control.
So
trying anyway.
We're doing what we can. So
yeah. Question, Tom?
Through you, Warden Weber, to the director. Good job. You got some new staff?
Yes. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come down today. I think one is working on getting the compactor repaired right now, and then the other two are also fetching our dump truck from the shop as well. So we'll try to make them available next next available, but
Yeah,
they're
we
being
might
good
not
to
get
put
them
use.
at the same meeting, but we'll try to get them
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
And,
but
and one of them is being trained as a replacement at the scale house to fill in.
the two landfill attendants, yes, they're both being trained to provide relief coverage, so.
Good, because that seemed to be an overwhelming task there for many
It
years.
would be good for him to give him a vacation every now and again,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we're
I
trying
think
to
that's very
accommodate
important.
that and take a little bit of the load off of.
And I have some interest that I know it's a big piece of property, but maybe down the way we look at some wetland development or something in the area around the facility on the property somewhere, because again, the opportunity to work with agencies and people that really want to see a safe opportunity come out of what we're already doing.
Yeah.
Might be something we
certainly.
should definitely explore. And
Yep.
I'm interested to meet with some people at the conference to talk to them about what potentially can be done to invite the community's more understanding and happiness with what's out there. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Warden.
Andre?
And maybe you touched on this and I missed it, but such a large increase in the contaminated soil. I was just wondering, was there a project nearby, or like what happened that brought in all that contaminated soil?
There's been a couple projects here and a couple projects in the valley that's kicked off, and also they're just, yeah, and just seemed to be a bit of an uptick in just random spills and that's coming along. But yeah, there definitely has been a couple projects.
Quite a lot of difference. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's good business for us because it's easy.
Yeah.
Just put it there and it just hangs out for a long time, but it's
Turn it every now and again, but yeah, it's
it's
pretty
pretty
largely.
good business.
yeah.
I was just curious if there was some reason.
Not any particular driver, it's rather random at times, so.
Okay, good.
Hey, Sharon?
Is it continued to be tested?
Yes, we'll test it periodically. Certainly, we have to have it tested before we can take it over to the landfill side, so.
Okay, thank you, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your report. Take care of yourself. Okay. Moving on. 10.5,
think I'm-
recreation facility update.
Oh, do you want 10.4?
Oh, 10.4, yes, that's you. That's right, that's the one that had the X on it. I don't know why.
I can try to make mine as quick as possible. I'll quickly go through some of the staffing updates. You've met some of the staff before the meeting today, and Scott mentioned that he'll try and get some of his new staff in. Last council meeting, you met our new development officer, Trevor Hume. We have successfully filled the second development officer, well, really the third development officer position. Chris Burns has accepted, and he comes to us from West Hants, so he'll be starting in December. Wanted to give lots of notice to his current employer. We you will be seeing the ads come out shortly here for the REMO emergency management position and the new human resource position. We still have records management to fill. That one's not as time sensitive right now. We'll be having a discussion with you around the fire protection position and what we want to see out of that position before we go out and advertise that. And then Tammy Harnish has left us after 20 years with the municipality, and so we did an internal competition for her position. We are in the process of making an offer to an internal candidate, and then once that's finalized, we'll be going out and refilling that position as well. I gave you some information on the policing review and the fire services review. I won't go through those in detail, except to say that those will probably be part of the discussions when we go into budget discussion and strategic priorities, because those will have an impact for next year. I have also provided you with the budget and strategic planning proposed sort of timeline. We're going to try to stick to this, of course. When stuff happens, we don't always meet these timelines, but we're going to try to stick to this as best as possible. So that would have us starting now into November, doing some internal preparation and strategic alignment internally. In November, we will go through with council the capital budget status review. We'll look at those items that are going to be carried over from our current capital into next year's capital. Departments are going to be working on their preliminary capital budgets as well. And then in mid to late December, we'll start our internal consultations on budget and our priorities internally. In December, we are going to, following the council meeting, propose that we have a strategic priority and work plan review with council, review our strategic plan, our priorities, the current status, identify any emerging sort of issues that we see coming forward for the next fiscal year, how they fit into council's priorities, and a discussion with council on what's changed since we did the strategic plan last year and our work plan for this year, and what do we see changing? Is there things you want to add, remove, change the priority of? We'll have those discussions in December. That'll allow us to then take that back, start working on what does a work plan look like, what do the resourcing look like for council's priorities for the upcoming year, and then to start working those into our operating and capital budgets. We're hoping to have some preliminary budgets to you in January for the preliminary capital, the new capital items that you hadn't discussed already. And then in February, we'll start with workshops for operating and the rest of the capital. And then we're hoping that by March 12th, we have a final budget adjustment meeting and council approval by the March 27th so that we're approved for the end of the fiscal year. I've noted some upcoming policy session topics, so the policy and strategy sessions. The big one to highlight, we're going to be having some discussions later today around a couple of the water projects that we're working on, but we are proposing that we bring a more wholesome discussion to you on the November 20th policy and strategy, really focused around our growth strategy and water, and have a more wholesome discussion on that day. So that'll probably be, there's 2 or 3 other topics on the agenda for that day, but that'll give us a lot of time to kind of dig into that topic. Domestic animals, bylaw amendments, public surveillance policy. We recently had some more vandalism happen at Wild Rose Park, so we've got a public surveillance policy and discussion to come forward to you. The review of the committee structures that you've asked for, the dangerous and unsightly premises policy and procedures, grants discussion around arts and culture grants, Exit 6 comprehensive plan information update, so that's the one I just mentioned. We're going to kind of work that into the water discussion as well. The financial reserves policy, we're going to have some discussion around the deer population management and then the fire services position. So we're busy, keeping every department busy. Attached to this, you've also got an update on the work plan, the strategic priority update, the council direction tracker, and the active grant files. So I won't go through those all in detail, hoping that you've all had a chance to review those. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Yeah.
And I will pull this out as a separate, like I did last time, email it to you so that the report is pulled out separately, and I'll email it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Tina
Oh,
had a
sorry.
question and then-
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. So the only question I have is specifically with the layered policing piece that you refer to. And you probably don't have an answer to this, but do we know any timelines around this?
None.
Okay.
No. And with the announcement last week around
Change
Department
of
of Justice, I'm not
minister.
sure if that affects it as well, yeah.
No. And the reason I ask, just so you're aware, and I know that this was brought up at the RCMP advisory meeting, of which Deputy Warden chaired, and I was in attendance, and Aaron and Pam, I'm sorry. But as well at the Lunenburg County Senior Safety Partnership discussions. And I know that you will recall that that group has been advocating for additional funding from the province for the support and so on, and that's, kind of a bit complicated there, if you will. But I know that Suzanne Lonis-Croft had mentioned around the layered policing piece and marrying up and just talking about again, looking at what we need and the solutions there. So I just wanted to ask that, but.
Yeah, the only timeline in our discussions with Department of Justice, the only timelines that we really discussed were in relation to the impact on our budget, because lots of time, most years, we don't get, we kind of prepare our budget with
Without
the
ever
policing budget line based on what do we think is going to be the increase. We use CPI and historical trends to kind of guesstimate what that increase will be, and then it's probably midsummer that we get the actual change for the fiscal year, so it's after budget's approved. So we had a discussion around if we could know what this new billing model is going to look like and what that might look like, it would be better to have that leading into our budget discussions, which start happening in November. And so that would be a big change for them, right? That's about 6 months earlier than they would normally do, and it's a new funding model. So the only indication we were given is they would try to take that into account. They were hoping to have numbers for us before our fiscal year was up, and that we shouldn't, there was an indication that, well, it's not certain yet, we shouldn't expect to see a decrease in our funding, it's going to be an increase. And then, like I said, we're also working through a policing, resourcing review with the RCMP that will impact that as well, so.
Lot we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom?
Thank you, Warden Weber, through you to the CAO. First of all, compliments to you and your staff for many detailed things that are going on, because I get a lot of inquiries about what are we doing. Well, I hope we can release these quarterly reports in a public relations send out through the municipality, because I don't think anyone in the municipality knows what is in depth going on here. I am in awe of the amount of things we have on the table. Of course, for me, there's a number of topics that are highlights. Of course, water is one of them, as we note, and that's going to be discussed a little bit further on. But again, the amount of work that's going on, the times that we have limited staff that can do some of that, and the amount of new staff we have, I hope we continue to see the steady movement forward, and I compliment you and the staff again. There's a lot happening, and public needs to be made aware of that. If we can make an improvement in that release of information, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to 10.5. Recreation facility update.
I didn't get the memo. You guys look fantastic. I love this spirit.
Dressed as a serious professional.
I didn't like that chair.
Yeah, thanks, bud. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by introducing someone you all know, Amanda Gwynn Timothy, my new best friend in the world. And we're here today to give you a bit of an update on the work of the steering committee and what we're up to in the near term, and then, of course, answer any questions that you might have. And I'll just invite Warden Lincoln and Councilors Potter and Cotter, I think. If you have anything that you would like to add to this discussion, please do. Is that who you are? Are you Mr. Cotter? Yes. Okay, good. Guessed it. So, as you know, the steering committee exists to provide advice and recommendations to council on the idea of developing a new multi-purpose recreation facility for the municipality. And a lot of the work that we've undertaken so far is really preparing ourselves to bring the best advice and recommendations forward to you that we can. I'd like to highlight the work of two specific subcommittees that have formed to do that work. One is the Planning and Design Subcommittee, and what they've done is they've prepared an RFP to put out to hire services to come up with concept designs and do the planning work, of course. What we've done in that, as part of that RFP, is adopt a best value approach, and so that's distinct from a low value approach in the procurement world. It's distinct in a few ways. First of all, it invites the proponents to bring forward their value-added benefits that they can add to the process. That's a key one. We also ask them to identify and mitigate risks that are kind of inherent in the process of developing these kinds of facilities. It heavily weights the interview process as well, which I think I'm going to like. So we have to actually sit down with the folks who are going to be doing the work with us and for us and really get a sense of what they bring to the table, rather than relying on kind of glossy brochures that you sometimes see in these procurement processes. And then lastly, we've adopted a median scoring approach to this, to the evaluation of this. So what I like about that is it kind of determines where the market is. So we're not taking we're not scoring highest, the lowest bid. We're taking the median of all the bids that we receive, and then on either side of that, you're subtract from the maximum value. I think we have 20 points as the maximum value there. So it just kind of allows us to know what the market is actually pointing us towards when we're evaluating these prices. And what they've been asked to do is provide an options analysis. So really come up with all the different pieces of the puzzle that we can consider in this multi-purpose facility, and think about the construction costs for those pieces of the puzzles, but also the future operating costs of this thing. So not just what are we going to have when the doors open, how are we going to manage and sustain this thing into the future as well. So that's part of the planning process that they'll bring to it. Of course, on your direction, we also have the administration space to consider. So how will that work into the entire envelope of this project? That RFP was released last Tuesday, so that's a big milestone. It's out there in the world now, and as of yesterday, I think we had 40 takers of that RFP. That does not mean that we're going to have 40 bids by any stretch,
No,
but
just
at least
interested parties.
40 firms from across the country have expressed interest to that degree that there might be something interesting here to look at. So that's heartening, certainly. That will close, that RFP will close on November 19th. We have our evaluation team formed already. I'll just add that Fred has joined that to bring that both municipal, public works, and administration space perspective to that team. And then we have two other good team members who have a lot of experience in the construction world and actually in the RFP for recreation facilities world too. So excellent expertise on that committee. So, and I'll just state, it's in my report, but also I think useful for all of us to understand and the public who might be watching, that no decisions have been made about this facility at all. Those decisions will be made by you, right? But because lots of folks are curious what we're up to, and I'm going to get to that in a second, it's important that everyone understands that the process will drive the direction and the decisions that we take. So hopefully we'll have that firm in place by late December or so, just as the evaluation process plays out, and we can get to work on really doing that concept design and planning work. The other subcommittee that's been doing a lot of heavy lifting recently too is the outreach subcommittee, and the task of that group is to really give direction to how we engage our communities across the board. They also have to align the work of the planning and design firm when we have them, and also the communications firm that has been hired by the municipality for a broader marketing and growth strategy campaign. So that's Hawk Communications, who's been hired to do that work, and we will piggyback the work of this recreation facility community engagement on them, and we'll rely on that contract, and we'll rely on Hawk to bring expertise and strategic thinking about how we do that. There's also some important messaging that we have to come up with, and that outreach committee has already formulated a lot of that. But there's also sequencing to this as well. So my example of that is Amanda, myself, Jody, Connor, who's our student rep, met with the principal at Forest Heights 2 weeks ago now or so. And it was really heartening to see her interest in doing community engagement in Forest Heights, and actually embedding some of that work into the curriculum of classes like the OTU and the citizenship courses as well. So we'll get to that work, but then as the outreach committee sat around the table a day or two after that, we realized, well, if we were to start that engagement process in that school right away, those students would take those messages home to their parents, and then suddenly we'd have a campaign that we weren't quite ready to unleash that way. So we want to be really thoughtful about this and sequence it smartly, and also make sure that folks understand that this committee and these committees are doing their homework, and that we're really trying to build the work that we're doing based on the experience of lots of other groups that have done this work as well, which leads me to the field trips that we embarked on over the summer. So 3 to all across mainland Nova Scotia. And I'll just say that some of those key themes that came up were the complexity of these projects. I think I mentioned this last time I was in front of you. The variety of the projects as well, so that even though you may drive by these facilities and sometimes the outsides look similar, the variety of what was built inside is different for each community, and there's really no cookie cutter approach to this work. Resources to build, obviously, but also maintain and sustain over time, and then the lessons learned through the different experiences that communities have had across Nova Scotia. So we're fortunate to learn from those and apply some of those lessons learned. My last note here is on the capital campaign. So there is no capital campaign that is underway at this point, but what we've tried to do to this point is really lay out the parameters of what a capital campaign can be. So what responsibilities, or not responsibilities, but roles that we can take on as a steering committee, as a municipality, but also working with partners like Church Memorial Park as well. So we've enlisted some advice from Sam on that and really laying out exactly what we can do. So that's the end of my report, but I want to give Amanda the opportunity to add anything that you would like to add or perspectives that you have to this work.
Sure, thanks, Gord. Yeah, I did write a few notes down, and I just realized that today is the first time that I've addressed the council in my official capacity as chair of this steering committee. My only comments to add is my heartfelt gratitude to this council for the motions and accepting the proposals to get us to this point. The council has built an incredibly devoted and capable committee of 11 members and also provided dedicated staff to the committee. The guidance and leadership of Gord Tate has provided to the group and subcommittees an incredible and, quite frankly, has been a critical role in moving all of these parts forward. I am pleased and energized by the progress that this group has made in 4 short months. And having the RFP posted for concept and design and confirming the pre-R firm in recent weeks has been a major milestone that we're proud of. I've spoken to citizens in all of your districts, and feedback thus far is positive, and everyone seems engaged and curious as to where this will go.
Thanks, Amanda. So any questions or comments or anything to add from the councilors around that table as well?
Who's on green? Oh, Tina's on green, okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate the reference to citizens being engaged and curious.
Yeah.
Curious, see? Curious.
We got it.
So, question, not a question, around the community outreach piece. And I was following everything that you said, and I appreciate managing expectations and working within the school and then getting that buzz out to the parents and so on. So before you said all that, I was actually wondering if there was a spot, if it was appropriate and timely, looking a month out. The end of November, we may or may not have a meeting at Forest Heights, council meeting. I asked that on the agenda, the council before this, if we could look at one of our...
It is scheduled.
Yeah,
It is scheduled for
yeah.
Forest Heights on the 27th.
Thank you, I'm glad I brought that forward. So we might, want to welcome, if that individual is comfortable, to maybe be part of the council meeting in terms of a presentation of sorts, because again, that would create, I think, buzz within
You
that.
mean our student representative? Absolutely.
Yeah, if they were comfortable with that, I would want to make sure that was okay with them first and all that, right? But I think we would appreciate that, and and it's part of the council discussion, and that would be live streamed, and again, just all the community engagement, I think. So, but
Good idea.
Yeah, just
Thanks for the heads up, wasn't aware, so we can approach Connor and see if that's something.
Yeah,
that we'd be
27th,
interested in.
yeah. Great, thank you.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think he would be eager to participate. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
Right,
We got a lot of stuff left, so I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get by every item. I'm on to 10.7, potential water source investigation.
I did have a set in my jacket, so I'm good. Well,
Oh, Councillor Church, sorry.
Yes, I have to declare a conflict on the
yeah,
Bezanson
fair
Lake.
enough, yeah.
I don't know if we want to separate them, they're two, one for Exit 8 and one for Bezanson Lake, but I'm declaring a conflict on Bezanson Lake because I have personal
Fair enough, yeah.
connections
Yeah.
on that lake.
Well, I think they're both sort of tied together with the same process, yeah.
If we could do Exit 6 first, and then I'll step in.
Well, is it,
Yeah, I could separate them.
you can separate,
Yeah.
okay? Do exit 6.
Yeah, basically, one of the strategic plans is to get a central water system. So we hired Dylan through a competitive process. We got substantial funding from PCAP to assist with this. A lot of that ties in with testing, and we're just looking at the viability of these places,
Whether they're
right?
even
It's
worth
just
pursuing.
exactly. Just we're not looking at taking land or anything. Just want to see what it can or cannot do. We looked at we're looking at one surface water. That's a Henry Lake watershed.
Yeah.
We have access through Crown Land. We're testing that now, so that'll help tick off the boxes for PCAP. One close to Chester is obviously, well, The other one is a groundwater well potentially in, around exit 6. There is some provincial land there, but we may need to approach people for, private landowners to drill a well there, 1 or 2, just to see what the potential are. So we're set for Henry Lake, but we'd like permission from council to approach landowners for exit 6 for groundwater.
And the discussion around exit 6 and the investigation into the groundwater there, what that means, will be part of what we discuss on the November 20th council policy strategy session, when we come back and
Where
have
do we
that more
wanna go?
wholesome
Yeah, the
discussion.
wholesome,
But right now, we're
overarching,
looking
yeah.
to initiate the investigation to
Just
work
to
with
see if
the
there's
property
sources
owners,
that
to
we
see if
can
there's
even
a source
consider.
that's even there that we could
Yeah,
consider if we chose to.
Yeah, a motion to approach property owners for exit 6, if necessary, to do with the testing for a groundwater well.
Somebody prepared to move it? Seconder? Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, conflict has been declared by Councilor Church.
Yeah. Yeah, and again,
Basically the same thing.
Yeah, the next source, so we want a permission from council to approach the landowners to do testing of Byzantin Lake. We have to get some data levels in there now, and it's part of our commitment, and to have a good fall and spring study what may potentially be there. Now is the time to do it, but need your approval, right?
We have a motion to proceed. Moved, seconded, discussion. All those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, that's that. Councilor Church back in?
Oh, fingers crossed, yeah.
Okay, I think I'm on the last page. Community wells update, still doing that?
That's Fred, yeah.
Oh, and community wells update.
Yeah, and again, this will also be part of the wholesome discussion there next month, of course. But we've been trying to get this going for a while. We finally got legal agreements approved, insurance and so on, right? It's a group effort. They're finally ready. So essentially, our process is to find a potential source in each district. Then we test the water to make sure it's Canadian drinking water quality standards. If it is, great. If not, we see what we need to do to treat it to acceptable standards before we can give this as a drinking water source. Like, for instance, we look at the one in New Ross, the Family Resource Center, and my God, what we need to do to that is just too expensive, wasn't viable, right? So once we have all that in place, it looks good, then we have to get the sign off from the community groups to approve this, right? And then, you know, one thing would be like, we'll also need this from council to ability that if we do have sign off from a group, that council will have to sign this as well, sign these agreements. Yeah, so there's a lot of work, and then once the agreements are in place, then we put the infrastructure in there and the proper signage to allow for just drinking water. We don't want bulk water trucks coming up. Because you look at the stats, we had about 22,000 liters a week was our worst week. And if you're looking to do that with just 7 wells, that may be up to 1,000 gallons a week. So we do have equipment where we can test water levels and track that. But it's still quite an undertaking, but it's an important one. So I'll just tell you where we're at in each district, right?
Abdallah?
Yeah, Fred, I know you're gonna discuss it, so I know, you know, we've been talking about the Anglican Church in Chester Basin.
Yes.
They're up and ready to go, and they were waiting for the agreements on it.
Yes, we sent that to them a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as we had the agreement, then we've just been sending it to people. It's with them now, and we're hoping that'll be signed off soon. And then once it is, we contact environment. We want this as a public drinking water registered spot.
Right on.
Then we get the taps in and the signage and see what they're.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you, Fred.
Yeah, that's what the plan
We
is.
just need those pieces in place.
Yeah.
Andre?
Yeah, so let's speak about the agreement quickly, because I don't think we've really had a discussion about sort of understand what we're requesting of the groups. But it's not really clear on what we're offering in return, aside from ongoing maintenance and stuff like that. So I gather, like, from secondhand information, there wasn't really like an offer, like say Eastchester Rec Center, which I'm familiar with, because I pour coffee and tea there sometimes. You know, sometimes, like, this can be a burden to groups as well as potentially a small benefit.
Yes.
And, you know, I know that running the bottled water program has been costly. So this, from an efficiency standpoint, is better, and it's better to provide community, we've recognized, and we've discussed this previously, that rolling out these community wells is better for water security for everybody, because it wouldn't matter if it was during a drought time or just your well ceases to operate because your pump broke or whatever, you have access to water. You never have to worry about that. That's the underlying principle of this initiative, which is, I think, good. But, you know, the cost of this program has been many tens of thousands of dollars. And even, like, I always anticipated that we would be offering, like a community center, some sort of incentive to participate, like some sort of annual stipend of something. But I you know, secondhand information is it was more like just you know, we'll take care of it, you know, that's all. And you know, it's not a lot of motivation if you're those groups to actually be really enthusiastic. I mean, there's the human part that probably they would like to participate, but you know, they're also, some of them are just kind of trying to keep their facilities operating, and this would have been a benefit to them. You know, and I don't know if you know, this council has to provide some direction to allow room for negotiation so that there can be an incentive there. But you know, I've heard through the grapevines it's hard to get some uptake in these community centers and community facilities to want to take on these community wells. But a small incentive, you know, a few $1,000s a year means a lot to a community center. And it's still, in the long haul, it'll end up becoming a savings to our taxpayers, because we're spending much more than that on bottled water, which is not only inefficient but bad for the environment, because we're throwing away all kinds of stupid bottles. So, you know, I feel like this council maybe we have to have an open discussion about what it is, how we're going to incentivize community groups to want to participate, and give staff to some direction on, you know, the ability to negotiate some sort of terms so that we can get more better uptake and quicker uptake.
Rather than make it complicated, I mean, I'm all for, like, just giving them each a couple $1,000.
We
just for the
can
sake of it.
add something to the 27th agenda at Forest Heights. When we go to Forest Heights, the
Yeah.
November 27th agenda, we'll add this as a discussion item on incentivizing. I anticipate at that point we'll have hopefully a signed agreement from from Grace Anglican
Well,
Church.
maybe that too, yeah.
My understanding to date, the only investment we've made is around Grace Anglican Church and putting some infrastructure in there to, like, the testing and the filtering, which we've extended similar offers to other units.
And maintain,
But there's been a discussion at the staff level that prior to making those investments, we need to bring that back to council, because it is like, there's not a set, this is what it's gonna cost us for each one. It really is site specific. So before we do any further investment, each one will be coming back to council to say, this is what we think we need for each site. And then we can have the larger discussion also on the 27th around.
Should we give them an incentive?
Should we give them an incentive?
Yeah, and just to build on that, like, we've already, most of these facilities were already annually or, you know, oftentimes investing in them because they provide other community functions, gathering places, you know, community, you know, we do all kinds of programming through these facilities. So we're supporting them anyway. You know, this just allows some maybe stability in their funding and provides this other service. So, you know, I don't know why we wouldn't be making that offer.
Yeah. Okay, we'll add that to the list. Abdallah?
Yeah, and to Andre's point, I have no issue with incentivizing. I just know that it's the right thing to do, but having said that, to me, the burden on the organization would be minimal. If what you're doing there is gonna have taps outside, shut off taps, it's not gonna require manpower of the hall, is what I'm trying to, and to your point on it, it's not gonna put a burden on the organization that way.
the treatment stuff and all that stuff is usually within the facility, so there's access issues and then
Correct.
cleaning, and
Yeah.
there is some secondary problems that arise from having, because they won't be maintaining it, so then they have to facilitate access and make sure that after access, like if maintenance were undertaken, then it doesn't interfere with their other programming and all that stuff, so there is some
More
management
traffic in their
issues.
yards.
Traffic in the driveway?
Yeah.
Yeah, security issues potentially about people leaving taps on and running their stuff out of water, and there's a number of secondary problems that can come from having a public access site, so it sounds like at first glance, it looks like there's no impact, but there actually is some secondary impacts.
Yeah, Tom's next.
Thank you, Warden Weber, through you to the director. Again, this is a very, very important topic municipal-wide. For my district or our District 3, I want to see a few test wells. Lordley Park excites me. I think there's potential there somewhere if we can find out if it's not been done, if it's been done. Valley Road, there's got to be, there are spots of water. We just have to get in people's minds that we need their input and their valuable information on certain things, because we are in critical stage now. I don't think this is just a one-off, this is norm, what we're gonna see in the summer times and the dryness, and we've gotta get our act together, because I've not been happy where we've been over the years. I think it's time we have to make this full commitment to move on some things to make people supported, feel supported, and that we're doing something very positive for our communities. Thank you.
Abdallah?
Yeah, because I mean, I have no problem with the incentive. You know, and if, you know, I know in my area, they've identified actually a site to drill a well over at the far end.
Yeah.
Right up in the farther end, they've got it.
Yep.
They've got it marked, so I just wanna, like, it's a great program. It'll be, I mean, you know, you can sit back and say, we could sit back and say as a municipality, look, we offer financing, you know, water's not, you know, when you dig a well, you're not promised water. But we have those programs, and we could sit back and say, look, we have these programs for anybody that wants to finance to dig their well. But we've gone over and above that, which I feel it's our responsibility. How we get there, it took some time, but
We're getting there.
it's imperative that we have this in place. I'm glad Sam had everything got straightened away through the insurance. And look, I know it takes time. Everything, like, you just can't say go and do, and we thought that 3 years ago. We could just go ahead, I identified one in my area, everybody had it identified, and then, but we're here now. So, anyway, thanks for all the work you did with the Anglican Church and in my area, Fred, thank you.
No, there's quite a few of us in the team that are helping with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it is, and like for each one, like East Chester, they have a copy of the agreement now, they're reviewing it. And their water is good, it met quality guidelines, we don't have to worry about internal stuff. But it may be saying, okay, we would need an outside tap or something here, you need some improvements to do this, and then we get a budget for that. We have $175,000 for 7 wells that's been approved. So we work with that and we bring that back with the agreement. And basically, we're not looking year-round. We're looking when we generally have those dry spells, maybe August to the end of November, right? So other than that, it's their system, they're on the hook, right? And then we make sure it's drinking water quality to the tap. If somebody puts it in an old bucket or something, that's not on us. You know, things like that, how signage appropriately. And then, you know, we're looking at, we'll have to have staff that can monitor this now and then, make sure that it's not dropping too low. Because in the agreement, if they need it for a function, then it's shut off. Or it's too low, it's shut off, right? And then we had to have contingency or rely on the other wells.
Yeah.
So that's where we're East Chester. District 2, we had previous discussions with the Hubbard's Fire Commission. They went through some restructuring. They're interested again. I sent them a copy of the agreement, explained a bit of this. I'm meeting with someone next week.
Yeah.
So that's coming along.
Okay, we're moving along.
Yeah, District 3, there's a few wells with the Chester. We gave them the village commission, rather. And we gave them a copy of the agreement. We're trying to find out well logs, and they're so hard to find in the environment of anybody's been done, what kind of yield it is. So there'd be testing there, right? Grace Anglican Church, they've been ready to go for some time. Once they're happy with the agreement, then we do have to do some paving, a little bit of clearing in the background. The appropriate tap, probably one that you push and hold. That's going to discourage the bulk containers or so on, right? And yeah, so the work to do there once they sign. Western Shore, they appear to be ready to go. They showed us where they want the well. So we're trying to find out what the well's like in the area to make sure it's viable. Then we can sink a well, do the test. And if then that's good, then we'll have to build a small facility there, some building with that necessary tap and whatever improvements are done there. We've also given them a copy of the new agreement to review.
Up, Dylan.
Sorry, I know that when you said about discouraging people for bulk water,
Yeah,
so as you know, I'd been at the fire hall giving out water.
yeah.
A guy showed up with one of these bulk water tanks, like on the
Yeah.
back of his truck. And, you know, just use your common sense. I told him, we can't do that. That's, you know, this is for water for,
5-gallon jugs, yeah.
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 It was just like, what are you thinking? So I actually had to actually put a post on not
To bring bulk water.
to bring
Yeah.
bulk water. If you can't pick it up, we're not filling it, right?
That's right, and staff looked at, you know, rain barrels or cistern programs, but there's already commercial enterprises doing this. So we're not looking to take their business or they're doing that, fine, right? And those are other options that they can do
And I think,
themselves.
Fred, too, looking at how you dispense the water, I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, what kind of mechanism you can put in there so they can't actually go there and hook their thing and fill their 1,000 liter.
And let it run.
And let it run,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
those are things I wouldn't have, but obviously you
Yeah,
had.
Larry's idea there is excellent, yeah,
Well, good boy, Larry,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, where are we there, Fred? We got a lot of stuff left.
District 6, again, the Family Resource Center, that was just too expensive, but we had some talk back and forth with those in charge of the Ross Farm. And there's a well there that they feel meets guidelines, not too bad, and there may be surplus, maybe something we could take over, so I'm meeting with them hopefully next week or so. So we're moving along there as well. And District 7, we're building our own. Yeah.
Yeah, just no options.
Yeah, we're getting it tested. The dug well that operates the facility now meets, so we're not expecting too much trouble with the drilled one, but it took a while to pump it. There's a lot of mud and stuff there, so again, once we get the testing, we'll be building a building to suit, and I'll be online next year. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your report.
All right.
Thank you, Fred.
Tina has a question.
Oh, sorry, Tina. I'm
So, it's
missing
okay?
all the.
Tina, could you push your head up so I can see your eyes? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So a couple things jumped out at me with this. I didn't realize, maybe I should have known, that there's actually gonna, with our community wells, there's a time period, like May to the fall or something. I didn't know that. I must have been naive. I just assumed that if we had community wells in our communities, because it's becoming a 12-month concern. And I think Councillor Vino mentioned that around if your pump goes, for example. So I didn't realize that we were being restrictive, so I didn't know that.
Well, that's generally what we're looking at for sustainability, but if we have to alter that, and if somebody knows something, they say, hey, can I come and get help there? I'm sure they can work it out, right?
So it's still part of the discussion.
I think he was just referring to, that's the most logical time of the year for people to
Okay,
use.
no,
Not
Yeah,
that-
it
that's
wasn't
right.
an
And that
accusation, I just
lending
didn't-
program is gonna help a lot of people, which will also take our demand down, right?
Yeah, right on. And also too, and I don't know, I should have done a little research in the last 30 seconds, but when you mentioned the terminology around rain barrels, et cetera, I know I've seen over the last year some opportunities with some of the towns in the valley, because I almost thought about going up and purchasing a rain barrel at a reduced rate, because they did a bulk purchase, they offered it there. Maybe the Coastal Action Society might have done that in Mahone Bay, I don't know, I'm remembering some
There's been a
posts
few
on
out
this.
there,
Yeah,
yeah.
so maybe around our food or community gardens and food programs and all of this somehow, maybe we could explore. I know it's more work, it's more, but the idea, if there was interest in residents saving money, because I'm one resident that might look to buying a rain barrel,
That helps with flushing, right?
Yes,
But you
yeah.
can't, you know, not potable.
Tara was gonna.
Yeah, so I think that's something that staff have identified is their interest in council making it a priority, one of the work plan projects when we go into the strategic
Okay.
planning process and the budget process of, like some sort of cistern, rain barrel program. Is that something that you want to make a priority? So we've got that on our radar to talk about as one of the emerging
Yeah, that's
potential
fine.
priorities.
There you go.
Excellent, excellent, thank you. Check. So also too, in terms of the discussions with the fact of the Family Resource Center and their poor water quality there, you know, there could be some discussion around the fact that we own that building, so we're the landlords.
Yeah.
And what responsibility, now that we're aware of some of this, might fall back to us. Just gonna put that out there. I don't want to, I'm not looking for an answer,
Yeah.
even a discussion now, but that's a concern, right?
Well,
That's a
well, they're
concern.
aware that it's not for drinking water,
Oh,
so
yeah,
they
they're aware
make
of it,
their
but
own
we're the
thing. That's
landlord.
part of their,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we're the landlord, we own
Yes.
the building.
Yeah.
And marrying that up with the housing project and, you know, just the school board, I know it's not called the school board, but just some of those discussions that took place a year ago that I had with you as well as the public properties staff with the school board and the school there and so on. So those aren't over. I know they're still kind of in discussions because I have had discussions with, again, that individual with the school board as well as a local contractor, New Ross, and some of the work that should have been done in the summer when school was not in. But I mean, you know, it all takes time. I'm not saying you,
That's
but I
right.
mean our own community and our contractor. Now, jumping right to the Ross Farm, I am very glad that that just actually, it just kind of organically happened, that discussion. I was at the farm one day, and the fact that they opened as a cooling station because of what was happening, and then it was really promoted with the individuals that were displaced with the East Dalhousie fires. So there were families that showed up there just for a break. Just for a break with their entire family and pets, and they were given the freedom of the property and just again, it's all part of just what's important, right, for quality of life and that. So I'm glad of that. I think that that could be an exciting opportunity and a very quick turnaround because I'm sure as a quasi-provincial location offering up their water, and the fact that they have a water source. So I'm excited about that opportunity, actually, very excited.
Yeah, it's hope to get one in each district, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I got
yeah.
a feeling theirs is dug now.
I think so,
I
yeah.
have a feeling we'll get thrilled, you're gonna be confronted with the same problem
Yeah.
across the street.
Yeah.
But if the Doug one can give us something, that's worth looking
The
at.
dog,
We've had
yeah,
more.
for sure, because you're in that overburden, but once you
Yeah.
go to the bedrock, I think you're gonna.
Could be in
find
trouble, yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
place for water.
Okay, Fred, that's enough. We aren't getting into
Okay.
uranium. Thank you. Okay, the next piece of correspondence is Chester Golf Club.
Yep, this is just the response from council's request to send a letter to the folks at the golf club, to the board, requesting their membership committee look at expanding membership and including broader eligibility to across the municipality. So you have the response from them. At this time, they're not interested in taking that option, so.
Yep.
For information for council, yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
Who is it?
You're on.
Thank you, Warden Weber. I have to say I'm disappointed in this response.
Yeah.
To be very honest with you, I don't think this has anything to do with how their membership changes. It's a list that would be created that opens it up for the municipality.
I can ask him. Could you stop talking, please, in the audience? There's a stop talking.
Again, I think I'm not totally surprised, but I'm disappointed. This should be addressed as looking at, we are a municipality, and I know that golf course is a long-standing tradition, but it is part of what we support as a municipality. And I think that's the bigger picture, and yeah, I'm not totally happy with this response. Thank you.
No, well, I mean, I think that, well, I know there's other people want to speak, but it's going to impact the way in which we deal with them in the future. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, Bella's next, okay.
Just for the record, and I could be wrong, but the first line of the number one point it says the request is not, excuse me, not consistent with the explicit wishes of our donors, which I take to be the bakers.
I
okay?
assume, yeah, the Pew's Bakers.
So they were here and did a presentation. And in that presentation, in the Constitution, it says the donors donated this for Chester and its environs. And if you know what the meaning of environs is, it's the surrounding area. It's just not for Chester and Summer residents.
I think we should take a look at the legality.
So that's a false statement in my view. Unless they can show me where the donors explicitly said this, unless the Constitution was changed since I saw it and read it. And when they did their presentation here, they read right from that Constitution. And I asked them, do you know what the meaning of environs is? And that's what the meaning of environs is. It's not specific to one area. It's just Chester and its environs. It just doesn't say Chester.
Well, we should get a legal opinion on what that says.
Anyway.
Well, just so that we can
Well, I think
argue
it's
the point.
important.
Well, it doesn't matter, it's their club, they can invite whoever they want to it.
Yeah.
You know, we ask them to expand, because we give them a tax exemption that's contributed by,
Everybody.
that's contributed by everyone in the municipality, but the club is only, its membership is only open to some. So, you know, that prompts a discussion.
Yeah.
About, you know, whether that's in keeping with our values and our intent when we provide such exemptions. I don't think we're ready to make that decision today, but we do have a budget coming up in a few months to talk about, and I'm sure it will be raised at that time.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I don't know that we need really a legal opinion, because I mean, they've answered.
Yeah.
You know, that we got the PFO letter, that's fine, and, you know.
Hey, Sharon. Sharon's next.
You can't butt in as well. Just say that I am extremely disappointed. I was one that initially brought this to council to ask that they might consider making some changes, because I have people in my district that want to join the golf club or have the ability to get on a list to join. So I'll say I am extremely disappointed, and maybe it's something that we have to look at the means that we support them if we want to make any changes there going forward. I'm sure we will look at that when our upcoming budgets. Thank you.
I'm sure it's gonna be a discussion. Abdallah. Abdallah.
Yes, I just, and another point is, you know, an amendment, they're telling us that the amendment of the golf club would require a bylaw change. It must be received by 75% of the vote by membership. We feel that this would, well, that's like saying we're gonna call an election tomorrow and we don't feel that the Prime Minister, you know, the Liberals are gonna get back in, so we're not gonna call an election. Like, this makes no sense. They're assuming everything.
Yeah.
They're assuming that they can, it's a private club, they can do what they want, and as Andre said, they can. But hey, you know what?
So can we.
We have a say.
Yeah. They'll find it. Okay, we're moving on. 11.2, property valuation services regarding municipal funding.
This one's for information.
Yeah. Okay, we got the information from the Honorable Minister McDougall to mayors and wardens, councilors, read municipal affairs.
Again, information.
Information, yeah. 11.4, Remembrance Day ceremony invitation, Forest Heights. Well, you know, unless something happens, I plan to go, but I mean, that's still, you're just invited, that's all. Okay, new business, 12.1, community development recreation, new road assignment.
We have 2 new private roads proposed for a new subdivision in Chester Basin. The property owner has proposed for road number 1, Evergreen Drive, Balsam Fir Lane, and Whitetail Drive. For road number 2, they have proposed Little Deer Lane, Stonebrook Lane, and Deer Creek Lane. And based on the existing road names in Nova Scotia and the comments received, it is recommended that for road number 1, Whitetail Drive is selected, and for road number 2, Little Deer Lane.
And I can't make a motion, but they're in my district and I'm fine with them.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm on to, let me see if I can remember what I'm on to. Meeting changes. Are you ready to deal with that, or we got so many changes on the go that you can't even deal with it yet?
There's a few changes on the go. So we've provided, council has already approved the November and December schedule, but we're suggesting a few amendments to what we've already approved. So NSFM is next week. The November 13th was supposed to be a council meeting. We have two councilors that are not available to attend that meeting. One has an appointment and the other one is out of the province. So we are suggesting that we cancel that meeting. I don't think at this point that we need to reschedule it. We should be able to take those items, nothing seems that time sensitive, and move those to the November 27th meeting. So we're asking to cancel
At this time.
the November 13th meeting. And then in December, we had a policy and strategy scheduled for the 11th and council scheduled for November 11th. And then we had December 11th, yes. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
December 11th. And then we had a policy and strategy scheduled for the 18th. We're proposing that we add a policy and strategy session on December 4th. That we, there's a mistake on this one. I don't think we're adding a policy and strategy to the 11th. So the 11th would just be council. And then the 18th would be policy and strategy. And then we schedule a tentative council meeting because that will be the last meeting that we have until mid-January. So we've also included January's schedule here. The first, the offices are still closed, New Year's Day. January the 8th, we're proposing no council meeting because otherwise there'll be nobody here to prepare the agenda package leading into that and to get that out to you. So no council on January 8th, and that we have our first council meeting on January the 15th. The 22nd would be policy and strategy, and then the 29th back to council. Oh, Aaron had a...
Sorry to complicate it. We did want to add a policy and strategy after the December 11th council agenda to discuss strategic plan. That was the strategic plan.
Oh, not a policy and strategy, it'd be a workshop.
It would be a workshop.
A workshop, yeah.
Send it all out in the mail.
We'll send them all out, but so basically for December, you would have the 4th as a policy and strategy session, council on the 11th with a workshop to follow for the budget, just an initial strategy work or strategic planning workshop. The 18th would be an 8:45 policy and strategy followed if necessary by council.
If necessary.
And then our next council meeting would not be until January the 15th.
Okay, send it out.
All right.
Okay, and now I have, okay, that's the meeting changes. Now I have Tom, you wanted to add a few things.
Thank you, Warden Weber. Just general points of interest. I've received, and I'm not sure if I circulated this to all council or not, I've made it aware to the CAO, a letter from the Chester Garden Club on October 14th, referencing the Zoe Valley Library, the history that the Garden Club has with it, which was originally they were the Women's Institute of Chester, which was instrumental in making sure the Zoe Valley was ran in the early days and upkept for many years, and have a very deep history and an importance of that, as well as the community has. And they are stating they want to see it brought back to relevance to today, which is the process of the current trustees to get that through the process to get it to where it needs to be for today. And I know the RFP is now closed and there'll be a committee struck and then we'll be moving forward. But I want for the record to show that this letter was sent by the Chester Garden Club, and it indicated their input and their value of being part of that and their history of that. So that's number one. The next step I have is, please folks, the November 20th meeting, and I believe it's appropriate for that meeting for public presentations, Madam CAO. if they want to speak on water.
November 20th is policy and strategy, so we don't.
It's not a public.
We don't
Okay.
do public presentations.
Well, then that's
of
too
that.
bad, because I have lots of people that want to present on their issues of what they would like to see us and potentials and conservation, and I appreciate all the emails and phone calls I've got all over the last 3 months, because I'm sure many of you have, with many views. I also want to thank the people that are taking this as serious as I take this, that this is important. This is one of the top priorities, in my opinion. I want to thank the community organizations and public people that have opened up for kindness, that have provided water to others that don't have it, because if you're without water, then your world has changed upside down. And as was noted today, that's a public health issue, that's a human right thing that is so important. And again, I want to thank those people that open their doors and help others when they need it. I met with the Village Merchants Group earlier this month and had a very good discussion with them. They're excited, they're looking forward to their Christmas weekend and week that they hold in the area here. And they also spoke about the water needs for businesses. And, you know, that's another topic with great history, but I also encourage them to put something together and talk about, you know, maybe our system program or water loading program. It doesn't right now say commercial, but it does say residential particularly, but they have needs too and may take advantage of that for cistern projects and other things like that. So again, that was interesting. I took time to go out to the new Public Works facility. Thank you, Fred, to you and the staff for what you've done and what has been done on others. It's a great location. If you haven't been there, please go there. It's hugely important to our growth and changes and everything else. So happy to see these public or quarterly reports. They're huge for the public's awareness of what we're doing, where we're going, what has been done, what's completed, and all the rest of that. So please, public, if you're watching, tune into all those public reports that go out, send them to the people that have a not always great feeling of the municipality, what we're doing, but we can encourage them to at least get involved and follow us and understand the challenges we face and the things that are being accomplished and being done. Tomorrow night, Halloween, boo-hoo, right? No, it's not. It's a great evening. But I want to caution people that there'll be lots of kids around if the weather's fit. And if it's not fit, still be aware of it, because it's an important night for both families and kids and everybody else. And I want to thank council for taking the spirit to do what we did today, because it's fun and it gives us a little laughter in a tough situation at times when we're dealing with things here. But again, I appreciate council's ambition to do this, and I'm glad to take part, and happy Halloween to everybody. Thank you very much, Warden Weber.
Thank you. Clarissa?
Hi, thank you. Mine won't be as long, but I only have one topic. On October 20th, there was a grand opening for the Community Food and Grocery Pantry down at Through the Years Daycare. It was an initiative that Mary Ellen and her staff had put together, and they got funding through the province. It's a 24-hour pantry. It's accessible to anybody in the community. The lumber and materials were donated by Inner Heads to create this beautiful outdoor pantry. And the signage was donated by a local business, Meadowline Graphics, and it says, give what you can and take what you need. So the accessing is 24 hours. There's no requirement other than if you need a meal, grab what's in there. So I just want to thank the Through the Years staff and the Learning Center put this initiative together. Mary Ellen had went to other community-based daycares and got the initiative and idea from other. So anyway, we had a grand opening on the 20th, and hopefully, food shortage and food, one in every 4 families suffer, and worry about the food on the table. So I think it's a great initiative, and I hope it continues. So I'm going to support it in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we now are going into the in-camera, but we're going to take a 10-minute break before we do so. So that's the end. Okay, motion to green camera? Second. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Turn that darn thing off.